Greetings and salutations. This is Huge Ass coming to you live from my underpants. And joining me for this review of Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan, is Captain Picard. Oh, hang on. No, that's Mr. Sensible.
I was muted. I'm not muted. Thank goodness for that. I take it that the odds are stacked against us. The situation is grim, and we're the only creators in the quadrant.
That's right, yes.
Excellent. Make it so.
Because the plot says so, yes. and you're coming from the bridge of the United Cheese Ship Enterprise, I believe.
Yeah, well, as I said, the only ship in the quadrant.
That's right. So, tell me about your Star Trek credentials.
Actually, Hugh, I'm glad you said that. We hadn't talked about this before. My dad died when I was 8 years old, okay? My earliest memories are sitting down watching the original Star Trek with him.
Wow.
Honestly, that's genuine truth. My earliest memories and my best memories with him. And I've loved it since then. So I must have been 6 years old, something like that. And I can picture it right this second. So I have been a Trekkie since about the age of 6.
That's wonderful. I mean, it gives you that connection to your dad, which
it does actually, yeah. And that sounds very corny, but it's actually true.
Yeah. Oh, so sorry that your dad died at such a young age for you.
That's all right. I'm glad. I'm glad. Yeah, and I'm glad you asked. I have no problem mentioning that because it's something it's a good memory.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and so much of what we do as adults goes back to our memories of our parents and what we did with them, isn't it? We've got to give our children experiences so they remember us as well.
Think of the children.
Think of the children, yes.
How are you, Hugh?
I'm all right. It's an ungodly hour of the morning here, although, well, it's 6 o'clock now in the morning, but I had to wake up an hour ago.
In the morning.
Yes.
Sucks to what I do, really, doesn't it?
Well, I love you guys so much. I get up early just so that we can do this.
Excellent.
Just want to say hi to the people in the chat. So the first commenter was Dora and Koo, one of my very first channel member as well. Hello, Peter Collins, Ricky Bell. Let's scroll down. Oh, it's Clive Wells, Dr. Clive Wells. How are you? Oh, he says that PhD Trekkie Tony is an expert on this subject. Well, it's 7 o'clock for Tony, so he should be up by now, you'd think. Heat Shield. Hello, Heat Shield. It's 3 p.m. where he is. What else have we got? There's a whole lot of Nate. They've been talking a lot. Anyone else? Well, the 16 watching, come on, leave a comment and say hi. Peter Collins, I said hi to him earlier. Dog Walker. Hello, Dog Walker. Just call me Avi. Here, no here. Okay. What else have we got? Again, we've got a chatty bunch, but where's everyone else? If you're watching now, please leave a comment in the chat so we can say hi. So why are we doing this? Well, because
you paid me.
Well, apart
you
from
are paying me.
Yeah. Well, who knows?
Oh, okay. Bang goes those plans in.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was thinking it'd be fun to do a movie review just to see what would happen. I mean, with this YouTube game, you got to try a few things and just see how things go. And you seem to love Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Monty Python, Red Dwarf, all the things I love as well.
Yeah.
Including Star Trek. And I thought, well, let's pick a Star Trek movie. Let's pick the most popular Star Trek movie, or at least if we did a poll of the entire world who have seen a Star Trek movie, they'd pick Wrath of Khan as their favorite. There'd be others that are favorites. I actually think Star Trek 6 is a better movie, and Star Trek 3 is pretty close to it as well. But most people would say Wrath of Khan was their favorite movie. And so I thought that was a good place to start. At the very least, it's a movie that a lot of people are going to enjoy. And we'll put our own spin to it. We'll see how our chemistry works together as we go through this movie. Sorry. Rich 901. Hello, Rich. Inohara. Hello, Inohara.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Hugh. I thought, oh, no, it's my latest troll, but it's not. That's a different Rich. Sorry, Rich 901. I know someone else got confused with him as well.
Rich is, what is he? Not Taboo Conspiracy. What's the other one? someone with like 40,000. I can't remember his name. Anyway, they're all insignificant. What was on your cup? I only got a glimpse of it. I saw the word arse.
Slap my arse and call me Shirley.
All right, Shirley.
Shirley, not
Captain Shirley, that's you. Well, Captain Picard. Yeah. Oh, Globo Mom's here. Hello, Globo Mom. Comment on Pratt's backup channel. Yes, I noticed that this morning. He's put up a link on his current channel because he knows he's going to get deleted, and he's created a new backup channel, which is called the next Daniel Pratt channel to be deleted or something like that. God, he's dumb. Hello, Daryl M. How are you? Yes. Oh, he's quoting Kanye. He tussed me, and I shall have him. I'll chase him round the moons of Nibia and round the Antares maelstrom and round perdition's flames before I give him up. Khan. Ricardo Montalban played him. It was just a magnificent character.
If nothing else, he's consistent.
Yes. and he has the superior intellect, of course.
Yeah.
Being
maybe not. I have one or two points to make about that later on.
Yep, we'll get to that. Channel members, I've got a few in here. Can you please show me your corgis? I want to see your corgis in the chat. Come! Global Mom says. I'm sure we'll be doing that a few times during this stream too. Yes, there's Captain Sensible. Yes,
Captain Sensible. You've been listening to Level Earth Observer, haven't you?
Have I? Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah. No corgis? Come on, guys.
No corgis.
Give me some corgis. They're outside asleep at the moment. I'll have to feed them after this stream.
Well,
yes, there we are, Dora. There's Artie and Brewer. All right, we're getting on with the corgis. All right, so to set some context for this, I think it starts in 1977 with Star Wars: A New Hope. The original Star Wars movie. And I think that showed to everyone that there's a market for science fiction. The only real science fiction hit before then was 2001: A Space Odyssey in 1968. So there'd been a big gap, and people just hadn't looked at science fiction. They just thought it was all too expensive. And especially with the models and things like that, you have to
also,
show.
It was all rocket ships and ray guns, wasn't it? And that was about it.
Yeah.
And green aliens going, who for some reason always wanted to kidnap a blonde woman with big hooters.
Yeah, they always left the brunettes alone, didn't they?
Yeah.
You're a blonde, of course.
It depends. I'm a transparent right now.
Well, yes. Well, it's blonde, isn't it? Blonde is like polar bears. You know, they don't have a hair color. They just it's just that all the filaments are actually transparent. Anyway, that's far too nerdy. Where was I up to? Oh, yes, Star Wars started the sci-fi trend, and then within a couple of years, you had Battlestar Galactica, the original. That was definitely a cheesy series, but it was a completely different concept. We'd never actually seen that before. Yes, and
that's probably wasted on these youngsters.
That's right. Yes. The new one didn't do that, did they?
No. Tweaky, wasn't it? Tweaky.
I think so, yeah. Something like that. Anyway, so then obviously the people at Paramount said, well, just 10 years ago we had Star Trek. Why don't we turn that into a movie? And out came Star Trek the Motion Picture because they didn't really think it was going to go anywhere. And they just thought we'd do a one-off to jump on that trend and make some money out of it as they go. Theo Funky, hello, mate. Another one of my channel members. Oh, Buck Rogers came out as a TV series.
Yeah, that was Tweaky. That was Tweaky, wasn't it?
Oh, sorry, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So Dora's right. Was it Dora? Yeah, Dora's right. I got caught out in that one. My bad. I shall nip off and shoot myself, but don't worry, I'll be quite humane.
Well, you're a terrible shot too, is the point.
Yes, I might end up shooting Mrs. S.
Oh, don't do that.
Don't
do that. Don't do that.
Oh.
Where was I up to? We're going to have a lot of tears on this stream, I think.
Time to wrap up now, isn't it?
Well, yes, and thank you for joining me. No. Oh God, I need coffee. My brain is not working. Yeah, so Paramount said we've got to make some. So they made the Star Trek the Motion Picture, and because they'd never knew much about how to make Star Trek movie, they just based it on 2001. They had lots of pastel colors. It was about how large space was, and they sort of threw a story on top of that concept. And visually, it was a fantastic movie. But a lot of people just felt it slow and too ponderous, and they really wanted an action movie, which is what the TV series was much more about. And apparently Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, was interfered far too much and was demanding too many rewrites. And so after the motion picture, well, it didn't fail at the box office. It actually made more money than Wrath of Khan as profit. But people just it just wasn't received very well amongst the fandom. And then they thought, okay, well, we did make enough money. Let's make another movie, but we're going to severely restrict your budget. I think, actually, I've got the figures here. I think the motion picture was something like 44 million budget, and it took in 139 million. Wrath of Khan was given a $12 million budget. So it was severely cut back, that budget. And this is for a science fiction film where you need to have lots of things that are very expensive.
Blinking lights and things that go ping.
Yes, incredibly expensive machine that go ping. And so, yeah, with $12 million, that was a big ask. And they sort of gave Roddenberry the job of being the executive consultant and told him to sit in the room and while everyone else got on with the job. And they brought in Harve Bennett as the producer. He'd never actually seen Star Trek before this movie. And the same with Nicholas Meyer as the director. And they both studied the original series to figure out what Star Trek was all about. And it shows in the film because they obviously understood what Star Trek was about. And that came out in the story, completely different to the motion picture. The fans absolutely loved it. And it returned 97 million at the box office, which was 10 times its cost. Still less total money than the motion picture brought back, but a lot of that was the fact that people thought, oh, there's a new Star Trek movie, so let's go and see that because we love Star Trek. And I think it could have done, Wrath of Khan could have done even better if it wasn't for the motion picture, because if it had been the first film, it would have taken more. Yeah, it put people off because people thought, oh no, that was boring. If you look at it, apparently, if you look at it on drugs, I've never done drugs at all. But people who have tell me if they watch the motion picture, it's a really trippy experience. You're not going to imagine it. Because there are times, I think there's something like 20 minutes where not a word of dialogue is spoken. It's just all visuals.
And it's all coming directly towards you.
Yeah. So I can imagine it'd be very, very trippy.
Actually, that's quite rip-off of the end of 2001, isn't it?
Yes, I think that was what they were going for.
My God, it's full of stars.
Yes. So let's move on to Wrath of Khan itself. So it was based on a original series episode called Space Seed, where this group of genetically modified people who are genetically modified to be superior in intellect and strength and a whole lot of other things were found on this ship that was the SS Botany Bay, which was sent out from Earth in 1996, and they were all in cryogenic stasis. I wish we had that technology in 1996, but we don't.
Yes, that's way in the future, though, Hugh.
Yeah, yes. And the Enterprise found this ship and woke them up. And, of course, Khan tried to take over the Enterprise. And in the end, to solve the problem, because people who were genetically modified were illegal in the Federation for this very reason, Kirk came up with the solution of marooning them on a planet called Ceti Alpha 5. And it was a
they could have just marooned them in Australia, though, couldn't they? We did that. It worked quite effectively.
Well, I don't understand why you guys sent your criminals to paradise. It's like we'll pay this miserable place, and still, you guys can go to paradise.
It is Britain's largest open air prison, Hugh.
Well, it used to be, at least. As far as I know, none of my ancestors were prisoners, and of course, back in those days, the British justice system wasn't just at all. So. That's how they feel.
Let's not bicker about who killed
who murdered who. Yeah. There's a Monty Python reference. I'm just looking at the chat for a second. Got a whole lot of blue there, I see, which is good to see. Good to see people. Oh, Tusk is here. Hello, Tusk.
Tusk. Hello, Tusk.
All right. So Let's start with the actual movie. I think we've done enough context so you understand where things are coming from if you've never seen the movie before, or Star Trek even. I think we've given enough to understand why we're doing this movie. So the movie, they roll the credits as movies tend to do. The music is absolutely fantastic. James Horner did the music, and he really delivered on this movie. I think he did 3 and 4. He did 3. I think he did 4 as well. And yeah, he just did a brilliant thing. It really has a feel of the movies with the old sailing ships where they're setting off from port. And it's a really nautical. I think in general, the changeover from the motion picture to Wrath of Khan, they wanted to make it Starfleet a bit more nautical, a bit more militaristic, a bit more like the Navy. And Roddenberry said that Kirk was based on Horatio Hornblower. And he's very much that sort of character where he sort of wins at whatever he does. And
well, he doesn't believe in the no-win scenario, does he?
That's right. He says that in this movie, in fact. So yeah, it's so yeah. That's where it starts. And what's beautiful about the credits of this, just as soon as the credits finish, the very first thing you see is in the 23rd century. And that's the very first time anywhere in Star Trek where they identify what time period it actually is in. You can't really figure it out until that point. So that's where they set where the original series starts. And you see that in later series of Star Trek, that they all based on that. Next Generation was 24th century and so on. Enterprise, the series was set in the 22nd century and so on. And it starts rather surprisingly on the bridge, what appears to be the bridge of the Enterprise, with a female Vulcan in the captain's chair.
Savick.
Yes, Savick. And she's played by Kirstie Alley. This is her very first movie.
When I rewatched it, I thought I know her, but I didn't bother to look at who it actually was. It didn't bother me that much, but I thought she looks familiar.
She's cute too, isn't she?
Yeah, but she didn't look. She didn't look all that Vulcan, really.
No, she looked a bit too pretty to be Vulcan, to be honest. I don't know if Vulcans should look pretty or not, but she looked like a human in makeup, is what I mean. Yeah.
You say that, but what's her name in Star Trek Enterprise? T'Pau.
Oh yeah, she was pretty good. Yeah.
Oh yeah, she was pretty good.
Yes, her name's not coming to me. I think it started with a J for some reason. Anyway, it's also the first look at the new uniforms, which are rather fussy. I guess it's for the movies, because compared to every other uniform you've seen in the Star Trek universe, it's very fussy. It's got a little ruff around the neck, like the 16th century sailor. It's got obviously the 23rd century version of that. It's got this.
But I thought it was, at least it was something that was designed. It wasn't just a tight shirt, a tight t-shirt, or all in one. Because in Star Trek the movie they had or virtually those jumpsuit things, didn't they, with the sensor packs on their bellies. Yeah.
They changed it for that movie as well, but then they changed it again, which I thought was interesting, given that they had such a limited budget that they changed all the uniforms. But anyway, but yeah, this uniform continues on throughout the movie series, and in some cases into the TV series, where they're doing retrospectives to this time, or people have come back out of time and that kind of thing. Hang on. Dora and Koo says, when type. I'm really curious when type isn't your type. I'm not sure what that means.
What type isn't your type?
Well,
type isn't.
It's, with the nature of my body, I can't even get close to them anyway. So, all right. So that's Kirstie Alley. She wasn't in. Cheers didn't start till 1987, and this is 1982. So this was very much her first view in the public.
Hugh, I made an error. It wasn't T'Pau. T'Pau was the old bird who brings Spock back to life. Does that thing?
Oh,
right. T'Pol, and it was Jolene Blaylock.
Jolene, yeah, I knew it started with a J. Yeah, I haven't seen much of her lately, but yeah. So yeah, the Kirstie Alley was. She wasn't even famous then. She was just very much a new starter. And Savick, the character, is in Star Trek 3. Apparently, they offered Kirstie Alley. They wanted her back. Nicholas Meyer actually fought for her to be in this movie, and then wanted her back for the next movie. But the offer that they sent Kirstie Alley was less money than she earned in this movie. And she was advised that means that they don't actually want her. So she said, so sorry, and they recast it for Robin Curtis, who did a very good job. I think actually Robin Curtis in Star Trek 3 was probably a better actor for that role in Star Trek 3, but Kirstie Alley's really good in this one. Anyway, so Hornblower Navy, talked about that. So it's the Kobayashi Maru. That's what's happening in this scene. The no-win scenario, as we know it now, but we didn't at that point. We just think, what the hell's going on here? And they're trying to rescue a ship called the Kobayashi Maru in the neutral zone, which they're not supposed to go into, but they decide to go into anyway. Then all these Klingons show up and destroy them. And yes, it's as soon as the ship's destroyed, they've sent out all the escape pods, abandoned ship. A door opens and Kirk walks in, and he's an admiral. And,
but before you go on, Hugh, I can't say 100%, but I'm pretty sure Kobayashi Maru was mentioned somewhere in the original TV series. Because you know how clever they are linking things back. Hell, the whole thing with Khan, linking it back to an old Star Trek episode, was inspired. And I'm pretty sure that Kobayashi Maru was mentioned at some time during the original TV series, maybe just as a throwaway line.
Let me just look it up on Wikipedia.
What a good idea. Why didn't I think of doing that?
Yeah, it actually says the first time it was depicted was in the opening scene of Wrath of Khan.
Yes.
And of course, it's in the 2009 film, which was done very badly there, in my opinion. I'm not really seeing anything saying about it before then, but it wouldn't surprise me if you were right.
Yeah, just a throwaway line.
Yeah. We won't talk about Kirk in that same scenario just yet, because that's talked about later in the film.
Yep.
Oops, I've lost my notes. Where are they gone? So yeah. Both the interesting thing about this scenario, just before Kirk comes in at the end of it, Spock dies, McCoy dies, Uhura dies, Sulu dies, and you think, okay, we're like 2 minutes into the film and all the main characters have died. And so,
quite badly. Some of them quite badly.
So actors playing bad actors. But then Kirk comes in and says it's all the simulation, and Savik's really pissed off because there was no way to win, she says. And, of course, Kirk says, well, it's about a character. It's not about – you might well face a no-win scenario when you're out there commanding. And, of course, that becomes relevant later. So Spock becomes magically back to life. I think a lot of that was a bit of a dig, because when this movie was released, they spread the rumor that Spock was going to die in it.
Yep.
And so they were sort of giving him the death straight away, basically.
Yeah. And then that of course, would make people think, oh, well, that's what it was all about.
Yeah. So Kirk and Spock leave together, and Spock gives him a Charles Dickens book and wishes him happy birthday. So today is Kirk's birthday. And it's never actually said, but the implication is that it's his 50th birthday, which is a time when people think, okay, what have I done with my life and what I'm going to do with the rest of it?
I didn't catch that as an implication.
Well, yeah, they never say it.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm just wondering where you got that from.
Yeah. Well, at the time they were filming, Kirk was 50.
Oh, was he?
And it sort of fits with that concept. But of course, in the 23rd century, people will be living longer, so 50 won't mean as much as 60 would or 70 would. You'd be much more productive for a lot longer. Like in Picard, he dies, he's almost 100 or so in the Picard TV series. So, it's sort of, they're sort of ignoring that bit of the science fiction, I think. But of course, Kirk in this role, being an admiral, he's flying a desk. It's sort of weird that an admiral will be training recruits, but oh well, that's what was happening. I guess that's what the plot says so. So with the next scene, we come to him in his apartment, presumably at Starfleet Fleet headquarters overlooking the San Francisco Bay Area. Very nice apartment too.
Yeah, and I liked it.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind an apartment like
nice
that.
Nice ticking clock he had in the background there.
Yes, he loves antiques, apparently. And McCoy comes along to wish him happy birthday, brings some Romulan ale to lubricate it.
That's illegal.
Evening. It was,
illegal,
yeah.
Bones.
Well, it was by the sixth movie. I don't know if it was here, but
no, it was because Bones says he has a smuggler who brings in a case across the neutral zone every now and then.
Geez, that'd be a rather risky thing for a Starfleet
just for a crate of ale.
Yeah. Anyway, so because Kirk likes antiques, McCoy gives him his birthday present, which is a pair of spectacles, an antique pair of spectacles. And we see that again in Star Trek 4.
We do indeed.
I won't say any more than that because we might get to review that one as well. But I find that a bit puzzling because it's the 23rd century. You're going to have ways of fixing eyes. You won't need spectacles. So.
They do.
Yeah. So anyway, it's funny because it turns out later in the film that Kirk actually needs them. So we'll get to that later.
Yeah, don't you remember in his apartment, Bones explains why he gave him them? He gave him them. He said, normally I'd prescribe Retinox 5, but you're allergic to Retinox 5. So there would have been a drug which would have cured his eyesight problem.
Oh, I missed that.
You did indeed, sir. Because
apart from that, and I don't think apart from this movie and seeing them in Star Trek 4, I don't think we ever see them with him with it again. So
yeah, but there's a reason for that as well.
But didn't they have a cure for Retinox 5 allergies? Or
Kirk needed glasses or needed eye treatment. He should have had Retinox 5, or Retinox 4. I'm not sure which. But he's allergic to it, so he gave him the glasses, which end up getting damaged. But in the next film, they lose them back in 20th century. And he said,
that's a fourth film, yeah.
Yeah, wasn't that a gift? He said, yeah, but the beauty is they will be again.
Yes, but they'll still be aging. So as they're going through the loop, they're getting older and older and older. Yeah. So, but of course, there's the whole Spock, Kirk, McCoy dynamic. Spock is the logical, sensible one. McCoy is the passionate one. He's a McCoy, the McCoy, Hatfields and McCoy. They're all passionate, and being a doctor, he's compassionate as well. So they're the two sides of Kirk's nature, and Kirk is sort of both at the same time, and he uses both to balance himself out. And McCoy, being the doctor, the doctor's the only one on a ship who can tell the captain what to do. And it's an admiral in this case. But he says to Jim that he's wasting his life behind the desk. He needs to get back out in command of a starship. He's just wasting away as an admiral training recruits on how to die in the Kobayashi Maru scenario. So he's been suitably told off. And then suddenly we're out in space and we cut to a shot of the USS Reliant, which is a bit like the Enterprise, the saucer bit of the Enterprise with the nacelles stuck on the bottom without the rest of it. Oh, by the way, did you like my cheesy Enterprise that I used in the thumbnail?
I did. I'm looking at it right now because when I first glanced at it, I thought, oh, you've pinched that one from the video Star Trek, the track Star Trek in by the firm. Oh, no, you haven't. That was the one with the pizza.
No.
Oh,
I made this one up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just
was that at whatever it's called, Planitia? I've forgotten the name now. Oh gosh, Planitia,
the one on Mars.
Yeah, where the docks are.
There's one on Jupiter as well. Yeah,
can't remember the name of it now. Someone will tell us.
Yeah, someone will tell us. Anyway, so if they have cheese on Mars, they could build that ship, couldn't they? Planitia Utopia. There we go. Thank you, Dora.
Thank you. So I remembered half of it.
Well, yeah, that's the trouble when you get like Kirk to be over 50, you sort of forget a few things.
Yeah. Well, I will come across that one day, I suspect.
Yes. And it'd be nice to have a ship that you can actually eat as well.
And of course, I also am allergic to Retinox 5.
Obviously, yeah. They did an excellent job on your hair today, by the way. So
thank you. Thank you. You like what I've done with it?
That's right. Yes, I do. So now we're on the Reliant, and we find out that Chekhov is the first officer of the Reliant, and the captain is a guy called Terrell, played by Paul Winfield, who is one of those actors you see a lot, but you can never sort of remember who he is. He actually got an Oscar nomination for a movie called Sounder, and he was also in The Terminator. I think he was the guy who invented the chip that they were trying to destroy.
Was that him?
Yeah.
So I can picture him, because he ended up on the floor think he was going to be killed, didn't he?
Yeah,
With his family. Yeah.
So
You're quite right. There are some actors like that, aren't there?
Yeah. I mean, he's been in a lot of things. He's obviously, everything you can say. He's an accomplished actor, that's for sure. He obviously made his living out of it. He's not with us anymore. He passed away in 2004, I think it was. But yeah, it's always good to see that, and he does a really good job in this movie too. He's got it's kind of a bit part, but he's the captain.
Yeah.
And it's not something. It's something to point out because with current Star Trek, they're shoving it in your face all the time. But Paul Winfield is black, and he's captain of a starship, and this is 1982. So it wasn't a big deal. It was just that's what equality is supposed to be. You don't notice these things because that's the way they're supposed to be. So I don't know why we're so focused on it these days, because it should be the norm. Anyway, I don't want to go too much into that. So they're checking out planets for this thing called Genesis. At this point we don't know what Genesis is. It's sort of hard to review something when we've had 39 years to know about all this. But at this point they don't know what Genesis is. They're checking out planets. What they want is a planet that's devoid of life, and that's all we're given at this point. And the planet they're looking at is Ceti Alpha 6, and it's a sandy, barren wasteland.
Sounds like Swindon.
I've been to Swindon. I don't remember too much sand. More like Alice Springs, I suspect.
I see. I know.
Without spring.
Yes, and no Alice.
Well, yes. But unfortunately, they do detect something, but it's like something tiny. So they think, maybe we can transplant whatever that is and use the planet anyway. So they contact someone called Dr. Carol Marcus on Space Station Regular 1, who's in charge of Genesis. And her son David assists her. And David doesn't trust Starfleet. He thinks that they'll use Genesis, whatever it is, because we don't know at this point, as a weapon. And they apparently
do that.
Yeah.
They always do that.
Yes. And they apparently know Jim Kirk somehow. So there's a bit of a link there, but they're not going into too much detail.
Carol knows her. Carol seems to know, doesn't she?
Yes.
Carol Marcus, Doctor.
But I like the writing here because they're setting up things without actually revealing everything just yet.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Good.
Yeah. So, the Reliance let Carol Marcus know that they found the planet that they're going to check out, and they're going to see if they can transplant this thing. So back on the Reliant, Chekhov and Captain Terrell, decide to beam down to check out whatever they detected. That
they want to
doesn't
see
make
if
any
it's
sense.
a particle of preanimate matter that could be transplanted.
Yes, they were the words that they used. I think that makes absolutely no sense that the captain and the first officer would go down together without anyone else. You should never have your number one and your number two go down together anyway, let alone without anyone else.
But anyone else goes down, they're going to end up dead.
Doesn't work. Yes.
They always end up dead.
I've
never seen him before, so I'll never see him again.
Yep, he'll be gone. In fact, you see that. In fact, later on, we see a whole bunch of people on the space station who we've never seen before, but they're already dead. But we'll come to that later. So they beam down, and they're in space suits, I guess you call them, environmental suits, maybe, because it's a windy, dusty wasteland. And when they're down there, I must point out these spacesuits have this handle on the front, which is rather puzzling. Why would a spacesuit have a handle on the front? But anyway, that'll become relevant in a minute. They find on the ship where they use their sensors to find where the particle of inanimate matter or whatever it was, and they find what looks like shipping containers to me. The signal's coming from there. So inside, they go in, and there's beds and the checkerboard, and
it was a shuttle, wasn't it? It was a shuttle.
Yeah, well, I think it was. Well, we'll reveal that in a second. There are also books on the shelf, including Moby Dick, which makes an appearance later on as well. And then Chekhov looks at the seatbelt that's just hanging on the side of the wall for some reason, and has on it the SS Botany Bay. Botany Bay? Botany Bay? We have to get out of here right now. So they throw their helmets on and start walking out, and they walk outside, and there's a whole bunch of people there dressed like Jawas or sand people.
Yeah, I thought that Jawas, that very much looked like that to me.
Yeah. So they're in trouble. So now we go back to the Reliant, and the crew that they left behind are trying to contact them, of course. But whoever the second officer is says, "Oh, we'll give them a bit more time." So yes, that was clever. They lose contact and just say, "Oh, yeah, it'll be fine." Yeah. Even though they're in deadly danger. So then we go back to Ceti Alpha 6, and they're prisoners. Everyone in the group has taken off their sand-protecting garments except one who stands before them. And this guy takes his time taking off his stuff. It's very dramatic, builds the suspense very well. And Chekhov recognizes who it is. It's Khan.
He did have a bit of a clue, though, because he remembered the name Botany Bay.
Yes, yeah. Which is interesting because in that episode, Chekhov never met Khan and Khan never met him. But Khan says to the captain, "You I do not know." And then Chekhov, "You I do know. I never forget a face." Ricardo Montalban is just the brilliant actor for playing a villain.
Yeah.
I think Fantasy Island was going at this point, so he's quite a famous actor at that point. No one comes up as Tattoo, unfortunately, but he builds the suspense. He gives that sense of menace and yet competency as well. It's just a brilliant performance from him. So Khan explains why that they were marooned there 15 years ago by Kirk. So I've explained how they came to come there. Khan says Kirk betrayed them by putting them in that desolate wasteland. Chekhov says, no. On Ceti Alpha 5, there was life. And Khan shouts back at him, "This is Ceti Alpha 5. And he explains that Ceti Alpha 6 exploded for some reason. I don't say why, but the planet blew up and that knocked Ceti Alpha 5 out of its orbit and turning it into what it is today. What I find puzzling about that is as the Reliant came into the system, surely they would have noticed a planet was missing from all their sensors.
And you think, well, I've been to Ceti Alpha before. What happened when I was here last? Oh, we ditched all those superhumans, Khan and his mob.
Yes, so you think they come up too?
Maybe he's been to so many stars he doesn't remember which ones he's been to.
Yeah, so, well, they all look the same after a while, I guess.
Yeah. Luminaries in the sky.
Anyway, we're just poking the plot holes, but none of them are really matter. It doesn't really detract from the story that these things are wrong, but it's fun to point them out. So Khan also explains that if they weren't genetically modified to be superior, they wouldn't have figured out a way to survive. To be honest, I can't really see how they could have if there's no life on Ceti Alpha 5 anymore. Gary Wybenger's showed up.
Oh, I just allowed. I think that's funny. Hello, Gary. I'm sure that you won't copy and paste the same thing over and over and over and over again, though, will you, Gary?
Yeah.
Hopefully not.
Anyway,
Gary has been on my channel, on my chat briefly, Hugh, and he was fine on there. Me and Gary have an understanding. As long as he posts stuff that's not just repeat, copy, paste, then it's good to go. I hope that,
I saw him.
He can hold to that.
Well, this is about Star Trek. This isn't about that sort of stuff. So it'd be nice to talk about Star Trek instead. I saw him on Tommy Grunwald, and I didn't really have any respect for anything he said, for the way he said it. But anyway, that's a completely different issue. We're talking Star Trek. Khan doesn't explain what they did to survive, but I guess they don't need to. It adds to the character, and to leave it at that.
Well, they put
superior,
a
so he
cloth
figures
across their
it out.
face.
That's right. That worked. Yeah.
Across their face. Yeah.
Yes, all these people are anti-mask. You know, you go to Ceti Alpha 5 and survive.
He had a huge stock of COVID masks and he was good to go.
Anyway,
it just shows you the benefits of masks, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yes. You can survive in the desert with a mask. There's no food, no animals to hunt, no wood to burn. You just need a mask. So Khan, he's got superior intellect. He also has a superior strength, which he demonstrates by using that convenient handle to lift up Chekhov.
Wasn't it just? What the hell was the point of that handle for?
I have no idea.
I can imagine having lashing points to tie yourself down if you were working on the outside of a spaceship. I took them to be spacesuits, but of course the Khan is mobbed in no spacesuits. But Why one that's very, very conveniently handle shaped?
Yes. Yes. Well, because the plot says so, I guess is the answer. But that's all right. The point was to display that he has superior strength, because otherwise he's just someone talking. So yeah, it's good from a movie making point of view. Suspend your disbelief, Mr. Sensible, occasionally.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, though, Hugh, when I watch something, I'm quite happy to suspend my disbelief with things like transporters and all the things. That's absolutely fine. But it's when you get one really, really stupid error, then I start looking for more, and it ruins a film for me. There we go.
Yeah, it has to be a really stupid one, though. I mean, this one is fine, you know.
Yeah. There's little things. It's fine, yeah.
Yeah.
Although you do get the Trekkie nerds. I mean, I love Star Trek, but the Trekkie nerds, oh no, that's the wrong type of console. That one's got 4 buttons on it, should have 5. And I've got these diagrams of the specs. Oh, shut up.
Yes. Now, the next scene, and I'm just trying to find it because I want to show this.
Ooh.
I think, just let me go through it. I should have had this lined up.
Can you do this here?
No, I've got it. It's just I've got to find the right point. The moment he's lifting up Chekhov. Oh, come on. We're looking at the bugs. We'll get to the bugs in a second. Oh, this is really professional. Come on, speed up. There he is. Yes, all right. Now, I'm not going to play the sound. Let me share my screen. Yes, let's play this. No, it's not coming through. I'm not seeing anything. I'm seeing the outside of it, not the inside of it. Oh, that's disappointing. Maybe if you buy the movie on YouTube, you can't show it. How frustrating. I didn't know that. Anyway, what I wanted to show you was Khan's chest, because I think that's a character in the movie by itself.
You're just trying to appeal to, I think it was Dora's naughty nature. Was it? No, it's Glober Mom lusting after him. Lusting after Khan.
Yes, well, that chest is incredible. People thought he had a prosthetic, but no, it was really him.
Hugh, if you give me timestamps, I may be able to help you out, mate.
Oh, I lost my cursor. There it is. Stop sharing. It's around 23:49.
Yeah, you'll have to give me a couple of minutes just to get set up.
All right.
Because I was prepared for I was prepared for what I was prepared for, but I wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah, I just wanted to show. Yes, I'm not prepared for that. I just wanted to show Khan's chest because it's probably the most amazing chest, male chest anyway, ever shown on film. It's worthwhile having a look at. I was surprised. I didn't know that if you bought a video on YouTube that you couldn't show it. So it's kind of surprising. Anyway, so there's apparently one life form still on Ceti Alpha 5. And it's this little bug thing. It's like a cross between a scorpion and a slater. It's quite very good animatronics. They sort of got a little bit of blood flow and things like that. And it's got these ridges on its back, and inside that's where it keeps its young. And if they pinch its young out and put them in someone's ear, they become very susceptible to suggestion. And so they do this to Chekhov and the captain, and they basically become their slaves, zombies almost. So then now they're under Khan's control. Khan wants to know why they are there and how to find Kirk. And of course, they explain about Genesis and probably say where Kirk is, saying he's an admiral. Then we go. Oh, here we go. Yep, let me make you
what was
full screen. Well, can I make you full screen? No, that's not the way. I can't make my guest full screen. Yeah, just a little bit more than that.
The aspect ratio won't be brilliant for
Yeah, I can't. Oh, hang on. Can I? Yes, I can do it this way. There we go. Yeah, he's still got the jacket on, so just a little bit more where he takes that jacket off. Oh, that's the creature, yeah. Here he goes. There's the chest. We can't show more than a few seconds, guys, because we'll get copyright struck.
Well, you will. I won't.
Well, I will, yeah.
Sorry.
And it'd be nice if this sort of worked. So, but yes, that magnificent chest. I've seen a picture of him in another role with his shirt off, and it's covered in hair, and you can tell that he actually does. It actually is his chest. He was an older man who worked out, which was an unusual thing to see in the 1980s. But yeah, that is his real chest. It's hard to believe. It looks like a prosthetic, but it's not. He's just shaved his chest. It's quite an amazing thing, and you see it all the way through the show.
Is it coming through to the stream? I mean, I can see it on the StreamYard.
Yeah, I can see it.
Ah, right.
On the stream. I'm not seeing the image I'm seeing at the moment on the stream.
No, I'm seeing.
Oh, sorry, no. I'm looking at the wrong one. I'm looking at the movie. Yep, it's there.
Just that delayed.
It's probably a little bit delayed. I see it there on the stream.
Cool.
Yes, Theo Fungi. How can you not love Khan? Yes, he was brilliant, wasn't he? That explains a lot about Gary Ibenga.
You're seeing it. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, it explains a lot about Gary Ibenga. He's never watched Star Trek since he was a kid and never watched a Star Wars movie. What a poor, sad life that is.
Yeah, that's not good, Gary. Not good, mate. Never mind.
All right.
Let us not be downhearted siblings. One total disaster is just the beginning.
Yes, you've got so much of the world to explore. Yeah? All right, so then if you want to take that down, I don't know how long they want us to show such things.
Yeah, but any timestamps, you give me the timestamp, I'll whiz to it and I'll pop it back up on screen.
All right, then. So then we go back to Earth. Sulu is piloting a pod containing Kirk, Uhura, and McCoy, and they're going up to the Enterprise, which is in space dock. So this very much mirrors a similar scene in the motion picture, but unlike that scene, it doesn't take forever. Yeah,
but they used the same astronaut who's working on the Enterprise, stood outside of it, waving.
Yep. Yes, they reused a lot of. Yeah, as it moves out, it was waving to say goodbye.
Yeah,
they reused a lot of things from that.
Same film.
Yeah, because it costs a lot of money to make it, so they just thought, well, we'll use it again. See if no one notices. In fact, it's kind of most people when you think of Star Trek, you don't really think of the motion picture as part of it. You seem to think it started with Ruther Khan and then moved on. Motion picture was sort of like a one-off. But anyway.
Good grief. Sorry. I said about are they seeing it? And Dora said they are. I'm only just seeing it come up on my screen now. I'm getting
you might have maybe need to click the live thing. You might be behind.
I'll just refresh it. It could be that I'm behind.
Yeah.
Okay.
All the hamsters in your internet or something?
No,
I get to?
I think you finished.
Right. Well, yes. Kirk and the gang are going up to the Enterprise, and they're apparently going to take the Enterprise on a training cruise because Kirk's saying he's glad Sulu's there to do the piloting because he doesn't think those kids can steer.
No.
I mean, they're a spaceship in the vastness of space. How well do they need to steer? They're not going to hit anything. Anyway, so more with the nautical theme, the Navy theme. A trainee bosun whistles them aboard as they come through the airlock. And all the trainees and Scotty in engineering. There we go, the bosun's whistle. And it's like a futuristic whistle, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, see, Tony's here. G'day, Tony.
G'day, Tony.
You took your time. It's nearly 8 o'clock for you.
Struth, you got no strides on.
Well, you got to be in your underpants.
Anyway.
Yes, I use my underpants as a tent sometimes.
Cool.
Anyway, so Kirk is carrying his book, the one that Spock gave him for his birthday. So Spock and Savick meet the party at the airlock itself, and then they have a bit of a banter with Scotty. Apparently, he had a bout of shore leave, which Dr. McCoy helped fix him up with. And then Kirk does the commander going down the line saying, and who are you here? And Peter Preston identifies himself as Peter Preston, says who he is. And so we have a quick back and forth.
Peter Preston.
Well, yes, he's basically a red shirt. He comes back later on, so we'll talk about that later. Savick and Spock have a quick conversation in Vulcan, which I believe is the first time we ever hear Vulcan ever spoken in anywhere in Star Trek. And she says, Kirk is so human. Well, what else would he be? Is that Savick? Oh, she's so Vulcan, It's kind of a pointless thing to say, but
Well,
that gives
nobody is perfect.
Exactly. It sets up Spock for that line. No one's perfect.
Sorry, am I stealing your thunder? Have you got jokes written and I'm stealing the lines?
No, that's all right. I mean, this is meant to be both of us,
Okay, cool.
Kirk continues with the inspection of engineering, but he's keen to get to the bridge and underway, so he cuts it short. Then, this was the bit I was going to show. I think what was the timestamp? 38? No. 28. No. Yeah,
Which
about
bit?
30 minutes in.
Which bit?
Just when they turn on the lights on the Enterprise. Because they do that so well.
To move off, you mean?
Yeah.
One's
So just turning on the lights bit, we'll show.
Yes. I got it.
All right.
Right.
I'll make you full screen.
And here we go.
A little bit more than that.
It's only a few seconds, isn't it?
There it is. Ship porn. You can tell they're little LED type lights, and this
I
model.
want to look out for my waving bloke.
There it is, moving out
Get
of
a space dock. There he is.
That's from the motion picture, but this is Rob Gunn. So, all right, we might stop it there, I think.
Okay.
Oh, hang on, no, just a little bit more. I want to see the front-on shot. At least
You want a full-on frontal?
There it is. There it is.
Yeah, we'll stop on a full-on frontal.
Shot. Yeah, it's a brilliant shot, that one. I love that. And I told you earlier in the week it was a 25-foot model. It's actually an 11-foot model.
Yeah, so I was right, mate. That's the one I've seen, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
still big enough. I had to use.
Oh yeah, still. That'd be worth a fortune, wouldn't it?
Yeah. No, you keep talking. I've been talking a lot. So.
Yeah, no, that's right. It's just I just saw a couple of guys with the model sort of on some sort of removal trolley on the sidewalk outside some studios or something. I don't know what they were doing with it, but it's just quite stunning, really. Because there's a certain amount of CGI, but a lot of it was real modelling.
Yeah. Well, there isn't a lot of CGI because this is 1982. There was some, but not a lot.
And when you see some of the graphics on the computer stations on the bridge, you realise how advanced we are now and how dated a lot of that looks.
And then compare that to what happened, in the 1960s and what they showed on the screens and things.
Yeah, definitely.
It's and of course you can't predict the future that well enough to make an image of the future look exactly like it would be, but you can use what you have to do what you can.
Yeah.
So hang on, I've lost my notes. So that's moving out, but just before that, Spock's going through the processes. I love that they go through the process of leaving space dock, saying clear all moorings and things like that. Gives you that sense of a sailing ship about to set off. Hang on, I'll just take it off full screen.
Oh, I just popped Savick up there with her desk.
Kirstie Alley, yep, looking pretty good. She was.
But look at those. Look at all those buttons, none of which are labelled. That's really handy.
And they all look the same. It's like a black button that lights up black to tell you that it's on. Against the black background.
And what did it say when you pressed it? It said, "Don't press this button again."
Yes.
And really useful display screens as well.
Yes, that
actually
shows you exactly
her station there is a total waste of bloody time, isn't it?
It is, yes. Anyway, so Spock's going through the processes of leaving space dock, and then he turns to Savick and says, "Have you ever piloted a ship out of space dock?" And Savick says, "Never, sir." He says, "Take her out, Mr. Savick." And then Savick takes the con chair and says, aft thrusters, and then 1/4 impulse, and that's her taking it out. I don't know how that actually helped them much, but yeah. Anyway, in terms of training, that is. So, one thing, they always call it Mr. Savick, despite the fact that she's a woman.
No, but
you're still sharing your screen, Mr. Savick.
Am I? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's right. They're all Mr. So and so. Well, because it doesn't mean man.
No,
it's. I mean, I've heard in Greg Bear books they use a neutral term, "sir," So not Sir or Madam, Ser, S-E-R.
Yeah, like they did in Game of Thrones, actually. In the
I
same
do
way.
know. I don't follow that.
Maybe that's where he got them from. But it's more going back to the naval tradition. All the lieutenants and things, they weren't referred to as lieutenant whatever. The captain would refer to them as Mr. whatever. So it's because she's at that rank. It's more, that's the way she's addressed like that. And it's a non-sexist term. If you pick one and call everyone that, it becomes a non-sexist term. Or you make up your own. I guess today you call it Z or something. I don't know. Anyway, so the music comes up and you see the Enterprise leave space dock, as we saw a bit. What I find it fascinating that you see it sort of go over your head and you're looking through these windows at the bottom of it and you can see the foam on the inside of the model. And that scene is used over and over again throughout the rest of the movies too. So it's I always see that one. Anyway, so they don't have it's a training cruise, so they don't have a particular destination. So Spock tells Sulu to indulge himself. Oh,
Which is nice, isn't it?
Yes. So off they go. So they're off doing training or whatever. So we cut back to regular one. Marcus gets a signal from the Reliant, and with Chekhov as the first officer talking. Oops, you're sharing your screen again.
Yeah, I was just showing tiny little clips, few seconds. I'm sort of following along, trying to follow along where you're saying, just in little few second clips. And
Chekhov says, good news, SETI Alpha 6 checks out, and they'll be there in 3 days to get everything on Genesis. And Marcus is not happy about that. What do you mean you got to take Genesis away? But Chekhov says that Admiral Kirk ordered him to do this and that Admiral Kirk's orders have been confirmed, which was an odd thing to say, but he says it anyway. That's because he's under the influence of the bug.
Who did these orders come from? And he sits there for about 30 seconds and before he sort of lights up. Oh, I thought Admiral Kirk.
Yes. But yeah, of course, he's under the influence of Khan with those bug in his ear. So literally
no mention at all of nuclear vessels, is there?
No, not in this one. Not in this one.
No nuclear vessels.
But saying Kirk is actually all part of Khan's plan, because he knows that Marcus is going to contact Kirk, and that will bring Kirk to regular one, and Khan wants to get him. So it's all part of his plan. So back to the Enterprise, Saavik seems to have done some exercise or something. She's in a different sort of outfit and corners Kirk in the turbolift because she's still miffed about the Kobayashi Maru. And Kirk reminds her that it's a test of character and there is no resolution. And he sums it up by saying, we learn by doing. So that's just to keep that little arc going along. Marcus tries to contact Kirk, but the signal is very weak. I mean, this is the 23rd century, and they still have trouble communicating over distance for some reason, even though they have subspace communications. And Marcus is saying, why are you taking Genesis away? Why are you taking Genesis away? And Kirk has no idea what she's talking about and she can't seem to hear him. You were going to say, sorry?
Yeah. I didn't want to spoil what you're going to say because it was blocked at the source.
That's right. Yeah, they were jammed. Yeah. I wonder by whom.
I didn't notice. I've just seen in the chat that Tuss says that the US Navy uses the term Mr. for any officer under the rank of commander. Exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
So
the Royal Navy
anyone who gets miffed by that, quite frankly, has got a stick up their butt.
Yeah.
It's not signifying male.
Yeah,
it just happens to be the same word.
It's an honorific. Yeah. In fact, in a sense, it sort of takes away the sexism of the word Mr. It takes away the gender associated with it.
Although I suppose they could say, well, okay, call everyone Miss then. You could say, fair enough.
Well,
let's not argue about that.
Yeah. Well, this is not our discussion anyway. This is for the Navy to figure out what they want to do. It's a naval tradition, so they do. It's like, regardless of rank, whoever is in charge of the ship is referred to as captain, even if they're a lieutenant commander, which most ships are under the command of. So Marcus was not happy about Genesis being taken away. Kirk doesn't know what's going on. So Kirk goes to Spock as his first port of call because I think he realizes that he's got to go and sort this out. And he says to Spock, who's in his quarters meditating, we got a problem. And Spock says, oh, well, if you need the ship, it's yours, no problem. I'm a Vulcan. I've got no ego to bruise, of course. It'd be a bit different in contrast to the motion picture where Decker was not happy that Kirk came along and took the ship.
No, not at all.
No.
So, he was very antsy about that, wasn't he?
Yes. And yet, because Spock's a Vulcan, he doesn't have any problem at all because it's logical. It's actually regulations. I think he quotes a regulation saying that the most senior officer can take command at any time.
But usually don't. But I'm sure there's been other episodes and things where there's been an admiral so-and-so. I mean, there's been occasions when admirals have taken over, but other times the captain has sort of basically said, no, it's my ship.
Yeah.
I've seen both. I'm sure I've seen both in various Star Trek episodes or films or whatever.
Yeah, you've been commissioned to command that ship. So unless you've got a mission that has to be done and the admiral orders the captain to relinquish command, the captain should be allowed to command his ship because that's his job. The only example I can think of is from the cartoon series where they got Robert April, the original captain of the Enterprise, who's now an admiral. And remember that they're all getting younger for some reason, and he's old, and then he's an adult at the time everyone else is a baby. So he takes command because they've got to do something to get them back to where they were. But that's for another discussion, I guess. Spock does what McCoy did in this situation. He reminds Kirk that the promotion was a mistake. He was born to command a starship. He needs to get out there and away from that desk. And for the first time, we hear the statement that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. And Spock, once again, for the first time, also says he has been and always will be his friend. And they're lines that come back over and over.
Don't they just?
Yeah, which is good. They're a theme. It's good to have themes. This is such a well-written movie. They've got all these little threads going through, and they all come together. It's really well done. So Kirk goes to the bridge, tells everyone I'm in command now, and sets course for Regular One. And he says, I know you're all trainees, but I'm going to have to ask you to grow up a little bit sooner. But they're doing a good enough job, and all the senior officers are the regular crew, so, they should be all right. It'll be fine, So another reused scene from the motion picture is they go warp with all the rainbows and things. They got a little more sophisticated in later editions.
Yeah, although I must admit, in Star Trek Next Generation, as they warp away, that looked good, but I always thought that the final bright flash looked crap.
Yeah, it was just
to my eyes. It what's the word? It grated a bit to my eyes. It didn't look natural.
Well, I think warping is
the way it flashed. It was very much no, but you know what I mean. It didn't look. It just didn't look right to me. It just didn't sit right.
And just being a white flash, I like the way that rainbows to me look really cheesy, but they added something to it as well. It'd be nice if the flash sort of was a rainbow that became white.
Well, I didn't mind that. It's just that it appeared and faded out. It was too sudden. There was something about it in the Next Generation ones.
Yeah.
There we go. But this isn't the Next Generation, is it?
No, it isn't. But I just want to do a little bit of a tangent. My favourite time that the Enterprise goes to warp in any Star Trek is in Nemesis, where the Enterprise E does a flip over and then goes to warp, which I think was just on a big screen. That is just magical because you get to see all the ship because it's flipping over, and this massive thing is 700 meters long and it flips over. It's just great.
Well, if you're saying that, what about in Star Trek Discovery with the
Black Alert?
What's the name? Yes.
With the spore drive.
I mean, the spinning was the spore drive. That's what I was grasping at. The way the ship would drop sort of out of reality and then reappear again. There was something about that I quite liked. The idea of it having that spinning disc was a bit stupid because it's not a mechanical thing. But
the idea of a spore drive is a bit stupid too.
Well, true.
A lot of people say Star Trek Discovery
drive. Come on, let's face it.
At least that's theoretically possible. A lot of people think Star Trek Discovery has slipped out of reality, but anyway, that's that's a bit of a bugbear with me. I won't get into that. I'll get too angry. So now we cut back to the Realigned with Khan in charge, of course, in the bridge. of course, they reused the bridge for both the Reliant and the Enterprise, but they made it look different by using different camera angles. So in the Enterprise, it's more or less head on, so you can get Kirk in the captain's chair and that sort of thing. But here it's off to the side, you see. And you see Khan in the captain's chair, and he's got a Starfleet uniform jacket over his shoulders to hide his chest a bit. He must have been getting cold on the bridge. So this was covered earlier. Oh, he's got this like number 2 guy who I will refer to as Blondie Boy. They're all blonde, I guess.
Yeah, he's sat there at the console, isn't he, on the right? Yeah. He's the only one out of all of them that sort of says anything. His crew, and in fact, without jumping ahead, later on in the film, there's a bit where you see about 8 of his guys, and they're just sat around. They really are bit part actors. They're just there to wear particular clothing, and that's about it.
And all the women, they've got women there because it's Star Trek. You've got to have diversity, which is good. And they did it long before it was mandated. But all the women there are gorgeous. They really are eye candy. So that's probably a bit of a problem too. Anyway, so Blondie Boy goes up to Khan and says, "We're all with you, sir. But now we're free of Ceti Alpha 5. You've defeated Kirk," because that was what Kirk had over them, marooning them on Ceti Alpha 5. So we don't need to defeat him again. But as I can't remember who it was, but someone listed it in the chat. Khan says, "Kirk tasked him. He tasked me, and I shall have him." and he'll never give up. So Khan orders a course change, but we don't know where to yet. So now we go back to the Enterprise, and Uhura is trying to contact Regular One, but gets no response. So Kirk is still puzzled by Marcus saying that someone wanted her to give up Genesis. And Spock says it'd be more helpful if he knew what Genesis was. And now they go through, so that he and McCoy, why McCoy, a doctor, needs to know about this top secret thing, I have no idea. But I guess it's the Spock, Kirk, McCoy dynamic. They all go down to Kirk's quarters and they look at this top secret film. Why have they got a top secret film? I would have thought that's the sort of thing that a spy would actually grab as soon as they possibly could. All the information they need is in this movie, but it's a movie within a movie.
They've got all the data on all the computers, haven't they? Yeah. Everything, apparently.
So why
make internet that works?
Yes. So why hand it on a stick to whatever spy is going to get in there? But anyway, they play this little movie which explains what Genesis is all about, and it's life from nothingness. It'll take a lifeless planetoid and turn it into a world with water and life forms and trees and things. And so, that's terraforming, basically, in a very quick amount of time, in a day or so. So therefore, it would be useful you could repopulate it with your own people, and we can spread out a bit through the galaxy much quicker. But of course, McCoy, being the passionate one, he's horrified by it. He sees the danger of it as a weapon. So they have a bit of a moral discussion. Spock's looking at it from the logical point of view. And of course, it's both sides of Kirk's nature being put on show. When they finish that, the Reliant shows up and doesn't respond to hails, and they're thinking, "Oh, what's going on here? Another starship's coming in, and they're not talking to us." And Savick starts to quote a regulation about this situation, but Spock cuts her off, saying, "Look, the Admiral knows what the regulations. You don't have to tell him that." But that's relevant later. That's why I'm mentioning it. So Khan's on the Reliant, and he's relishing the moment that is approaching where he'll get his revenge. But Kirk knows something's up and calls Yellow Alert, which apparently
meant they had to change all the bulbs.
That's right, yeah.
The yellow bulbs.
But apparently it also energizes the defense fields, which I would have thought the other ship would detect.
Yeah.
And energize the defense fields doesn't mean bring your shields up. So I don't know what good Yellow Alert is in that if that's what it is. Anyway, it was confusing. So Uhura gets a message from the Reliant saying about the comm system being overloaded by something or other. And Spock scans for whatever it was, and no such thing was happening. So,
Dun, dun, dun.
yes, very odd. And again, this is reminiscent of old sailing ships approaching each other over the ocean. You don't know if the other guy's an enemy or not. And I just love that sort of dynamic. Because that's in the 23rd century, it'll be like in the 1800s for us in sailing ships. You're going out into the unknown. And I love that they capture that. It's really good. And the music captures that too. So as the ships are almost alongside, well, if you don't know about this guy, why would you even approach them? You sort of keep your distance, wouldn't you? Anyway, so they're almost alongside, and Khan says, raise shields, lock phasers. And then Spock says, oh, they've raised their shields and locked their phasers. And Kirk says, okay, let's do the same. And Khan yells, fire! With so much relish because he's getting his revenge. And the Enterprise takes a massive hit.
Yes. Now, there's something that bugs me about all these hits. Okay. Firstly, in all the Star Treks, the number of times the dome on top of the saucer section is hit, and which is where the bridge is, and girders and wires and things like that collapsing down, but never is there a loss of atmosphere. I think there's very few Star Trek films. I can think of the one, was it Generations, when Kirk actually ends up getting killed when that Nexus thing passes by and the front of the ship's damaged. There's very few times that there's any mention or sight of anyone getting blown out. And any flat earthers watching, it's blown out, not sucked. Vacuums have no force because there's nothing there.
Yeah, but the air pressure does.
Yes. And so you are blown out.
Yes. So there's gas pressure without a container, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yes. You see, there was a container, but now, now
there is. Yeah.
Now there isn't. Not a proper one. No.
A couple of movies did that. I think you're right. In Generations on the Enterprise D, they had an explosive decompression. They certainly had it in the last movie, Nemesis, where Data had to go through the force field that was holding in the air to get to the other ship.
Yes, that's true.
But so a few times, but yeah, I mean, all we see here when the Reliant gets its dome blown out is a whole lot of stuff comes down on Khan, and then he uses his super strength to get it off people and things. So yeah, he didn't lose the air. Presumably the force fields came into place, but they don't show you that. So
no, they never do.
But again,
everything still works. So it's like fixing something, isn't it? I've got all these bits left over, but still everything works.
Yes. Well, the Enterprise is certainly hurt by this attack.
Yes.
They lose their main power and they go to auxiliary. And actually batteries start. Scotty says he has, and then they try and get auxiliary up. But he needs a couple of minutes to do that, and they don't really have a couple of minutes. And again, it's reminiscent of sailing ships firing broadsides into each other. And you see, people, things exploding inside the ship and people going everywhere. So, it's very much like those old sailing ship movies. Enterprise still can't get the shields up because she's out of power. Scotty says they're just hanging on. Kirk and Spock check the damage reports, and Spock says they knew exactly where to hit us. He is the superior intellect, I guess, so they figured out where it was best to hit him. They can't run away on auxiliary power, and then the Reliant fires torpedoes at them and comes around for another pass. And then Uhura says, the commander of the Reliant wants to discuss their surrender. And for the first time, Kirk says on screen and sees it's Khan. Khan. And Khan says he means to avenge himself. That's why he's there. And Kirk says, well, if it's me you want, he'll beam over, spare his crew, But Khan says, well, I'll agree to that if you also send over all the Genesis data, and I'll give you 60 seconds to do it.
Because he said we need time. He said, I give you 60 seconds.
I need time. I can't do a Kirk very well, but I'll try. You can laugh at me.
I can.
Yes. Anyway, so instead of doing that, they look up the Reliance prefix code and they explain to Savick says, what's that? Khan's nagging them all the way through. The 60 seconds isn't up. They're saying, Admiral, hey, I need time, Khan, And also Kirk needs his glasses to see what's going on. And yeah, they explain to Savick the prefix code is how they can take over another ship if they think it's been taken over by a hostile force. And they find out the prefix code, and so Kirk turns to Khan and says, "Okay, Khan, here it comes." And Spock puts in the code, and the Reliance shields go down, and the Enterprise fires, and the Reliance power goes out. Pretty much the same sort of damage as what's the Enterprise. So they're having both of them are having a real hard time, and they withdraw from each other because they can't really take any more hit. Kirk tells Savick to keep on quoting regulations because if he paid attention, this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, it was a bit of a slip up, wasn't it? He did get caught with his pants down.
I wonder if that was intentional, given that he hasn't commanded a starship for a little while and he just sort of forgot about it.
It could be. Could be.
Although it seems unlikely, given that he said that this is damn peculiar, the situation.
Yes, so he knew that something was up.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, why would if you don't know what the ship's doing, why are you approaching it? It sort of made no sense. But hey, the plot said so.
But anyway, with regard to this, is a bit. Yes, I want to show. It's only a few seconds, but actually, barely any of it's needed. This is Spock putting in the prefix code. So he's got a row of toggle switches, 1 through 0. So if we just let him just start putting in the code, 1, 6, 3. So what happened if the code was 166? He couldn't toggle it in twice, could he? What a useless. Sorry? Yeah,
I never realized that.
What a useless piece of equipment that is. And what exactly are those rows of toggle switches used for?
Well, presumably just for this purpose.
I mean, I thought at the time it's a bit cheap and nasty anyway, but it's a bit of a fail in that you can only put in any number that does not have unique digits. And in fact, he's entering it onto a screen. So he toggles 1, 6, or whatever it was, and those digits then appear on the screen. What's wrong with a keyboard? Or more useful would be those little sort of greeny buttons behind where you just press it and, I've clicked to number 1, I've clicked to number 6. But those toggles, I'm just going to play a few seconds again. There, he switched on 1 and 6 and they stay on. Absolutely hopeless. Yeah,
and he's got those other screens which look like touch screens. Why not have a screen that you can just become anything that you want? And anyway, it's a hole in the plot, but it looked dramatic, and that was the reason, really.
Well, it's busted, isn't it? It shows it's fake. It's not real. Star Trek is not real.
What?
Therefore, Elon Musk is fake.
Real. It's not real. Oh.
We should get Level Earth Observer in as a guest to help critique this.
Well, yes, he'd say everything was fake.
David Oliver, no cranes.
David Oliver for £2 super chat. Thank you very much. I like the Klingon birds of prey ships, which we don't see apart from the Kobayashi Maru, we don't see in this movie, but we do see in the next one.
I like the birds of prey as well, yeah.
And if there have been any other super chats, I apologise. I haven't been watching the chat as I possibly should have been. But thank you very much to David and anyone else who's given me a super chat. All right, so because he did that, the Reliance shields go down and the Enterprise fires. And the Reliance power... Oh, yes, I covered that, didn't I? So the aftermath on the Enterprise is severe. And Kirk goes down to sick bay to see what's happening there. It's full of people. And Peter Preston, the guy that Kirk spoke to in the inspection, he's there in a bad way. Half his face is just a big scab, really.
Yeah, but I'm not impressed with that either. Why do you think I'm not impressed with that?
Looked like he just poured a pizza over his face, or?
No. I'm talking about the makeup. I'm talking about the fact that Scotty brought him up to the bridge instead of to the medical bay.
Yeah, I think the cut that I've got on YouTube doesn't have that.
Doesn't have what?
Doesn't have him bringing him up to the bridge. Because I looked for that and I noticed it wasn't there. Because there were different cuts of this movie. So, but yes, it was definitely in the cinematic one where he brought him up to the bridge. Why bring him all the way up to the bridge? Exactly.
Yes. And then you see him later on, of course.
Yeah.
Not dead.
Yes, you go straight to the medical bay. You don't take him to the bridge. What's the point? Especially if he was dead, maybe, but he wasn't apparently, because you see him down in sick bay. And Preston is in a bad way and asks Kirk if the word is given, and Kirk says, "Yes, the word is given. Warp speed." And with this new uniform, apparently to show that they're in a relaxed mode, they drop the flap across the front, and Preston sort of reach up and grabs Kirk by that, and it's a bloody hand. So for the next 10 minutes, Kirk's walking around with his bloody hand on his uniform. Preston dies just after that. Rather convenient.
And his career as Starfleet is over.
Yes, he was never seen again.
No. He got better, though. He got better here.
Oh, presumably, yeah. But I think in general, the blood on the uniform, the eels on SETI Alpha 5, and other things later on when Khan gets a bit damaged, they didn't shy away from showing a bit of gore. It wasn't like MASH where you never saw any blood. They didn't shy away from that. This was a serious movie. They were trying to take these characters from a TV show and make a serious movie out of it, and they did a damn good job, I think. It was nice to see those little touches where it makes it just that little bit more realistic of what they're going through, and they're going through something pretty horrific. And so they limp back to regular one, but there's no one there. So Kirk wants to beam over.
Perhaps they popped out for lunch.
Yes, went down to the pub for a pint or two. Well, in reality, that's probably what they did. But we'll come back to that. Kirk says he's going to beam over and check out the station. Of course, the Admiral's the person that's going to do that. He's not going to send a red shirt, is he? No. And Savick quotes a regulation that Kirk knows doesn't exist, and then Kirk cottons on. Oh, she wants to come and ride shotgun. Okay.
Which regulation was that? No Starfleet officer shall beam aboard in Lederhosen.
Close. No flag officer should go anywhere without an armed escort. And so she says,
which is probably that would probably be a sensible regulation to have.
Well, yes, but apparently it wasn't a regulation according to Kirk.
No.
It's interesting. He breaks the regulation so much,
yes.
but he knows them very well. I guess you have to know what you're breaking. So he says, "All right, Savick, you can come." And McCoy comes because they might need a doctor. So they go over to regular one, but just before that, Spock tells Kirk to be careful, showing a bit of emotion, really.
Yes,
unusual for a Vulcan. And McCoy's a bit miffed and says, "We will."
Yeah, I love the relationship between McCoy and Spock. You green-blooded alien. Absolutely excellent.
You out of your Vulcan mind?
Oh, by the way, I can't disagree with what Judy just super chatted you.
Oh, more super chats. Sorry, folks.
Yeah, there's a couple there.
Thank you, Mr. Sensible, for £2. I like the bald guy. He's great. Yes, Picard. Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah. And Judy Bassett, thank you very much for €7. Wow. Oh, she also likes the bald guy. Yep, there he is.
Thanks, Judy.
Thank you very much for those super chats. Again, if I've missed a super chat, I apologise. Let me scroll back.
I don't think you have.
Good. Awesome. I'm not used to having super chats. It's all very new to me. Anyway, so they're over there on the station, and it's apparently empty. For some reason, there's a rat on a space station. You'd think you'd make sure that rats didn't get onto it. But I guess, again, that's the whole old sailing ship thing. But the main reason they have a rat on the station is to give McCoy a bit of a jump scare. It's all very spooky because there's no one there. And then suddenly they find a body. And then later on they find a few more. And all these bodies are dead, except they find Chekhov and Tyrell in a cupboard, still alive for some reason. I thought they had tricorders where they could sense life.
But there is a good reason for that, though. They're a plant.
Yes. Chekhov tells him about the eels in their ear, and Tyrell tells him of Khan torturing everyone on the station, which explains the bodies, how horrible he was. Barry
On says that according to the book, they're escaped lab rats.
Oh, right. It is a science station after all. Yes, that makes sense.
It is, but it's a science station for the Genesis project.
Yes.
Quite what they do with lab rats, I don't know.
No, it's kind of like
there we go.
Isn't it? Yeah.
I bet
Anyway.
though, I would like a lot of these books. It's a book written from the movie, so they thought, "Oh bloody hell, we better explain that rap." Oh, I know.
Yes. Apparently, Star Wars is the last three anyway. Are going to be most of the books explain what everything that doesn't make sense, and of course, they don't do a very good job. But anyway, okay. So Kirk says, "Well, Chekhov and Tyrell don't know where everyone went." Tuss, thank you for your £2 super chat. Rats aren't plants; they're rodents. Yes.
No, Tyrell and Chekhov are plants.
Yes. Kirk says, okay, well, let's have a look at the transporter and see what the logs say where they went to. And they figure out that the coordinates are inside the planetoid that they're orbiting, which is called Regular, which is a pretty unimaginative name. But it's why the space station is called Regular 1. And I'm pretty sure they called it Regulus 1 earlier on in the movie.
So. Regulus.
Yeah. But then it became Regular consistently in the second half.
Right.
Just before they beam over to those coordinates, Kirk gets Spock on the phone and asks him for a damage report. And Spock says, if we go by the book, like Lieutenant Savick, hours would seem like days. And Kirk gets what he's trying to say.
I'll tell you what, there's another bugbear of mine. That's the most obvious hint that you could possibly give. And bearing in mind that Khan supposedly has a superior intellect, you would think he would at least cotton on to the fact he's saying, look, hours, you got that, would read like days, okay? Days, not hours, days. It's as obvious as that. And,
yes,
and whew,
it was
straight over Khan's head.
Mind you, I do remember when I saw this for the first time and it missed me. So
you obviously have a superior intellect.
Well, I'm not Khan.
Khan!
All right. So Spock says repairs will take 2 days or so. I think he said 6 days to get main power on, but auxiliary in 2, meaning 2 hours. So they don't even have the power to beam them back at the moment. So Kirk says Spock should piss off in an hour if he doesn't hear from them. So they beam to the coordinates in the transporter logs, and it's tunnels inside the planet. And they found Genesis there, the machine that creates Genesis, and a whole lot of data banks, I guess, which has all the information. And Kirk is attacked by David, who's his son, but Kirk doesn't know it's his son at that point. Kirk wins the fight, this 50-year-old man against this 20-year-old man. Somehow Kirk wins.
I guess he's at least experienced, isn't he?
Yeah, and that's a theme of this movie, is that experience versus intellect, or youth in this case. Experience helps, gives you an advantage that not having experience doesn't give you. You have a youth will have experience of the advantage of being healthier and more active. Khan has the intellect as his advantage, but in the end, Kirk's experience in commanding a starship and fighting battles and things like that is a really good advantage for him. Anyway, so Caroline Marcus shows up and says, "David, stop beating up your dad." Well, doesn't say those words, but that's basically what
she said. Don't be a knob.
Yeah, something like that. Kirk didn't know it was David. He asked, "Oh, was that David?" Oh, and then Tyrell and Chekhov activate. They pull out their phasers, and Khan has been listening in to everything that's been going on. So Khan wants Tyrell to kill Kirk, but I know, Your Excellency, but it's very difficult. And instead, Tyrell shoots himself rather than shoot Kirk, which is rather noble of him.
But also, then, if he can get enough control not to, when he just throw the phaser away.
Well, he could do that too.
Could.
That doesn't stop Chekhov, I guess.
No.
But then, for some reason, Chekhov's eel comes out all by itself. I mean, he wasn't stunned. It just, Tyrell dies, and for some reason, the other eel just comes out of his ear because he doesn't want to be in Chekhov's brain anymore. That seems to be the only reason. So as it comes out, Kirk shoots it, and phasers you'd think would be melting bulkheads and things like that for them to be effective. But especially it's right next to Chekhov's ear.
Right, there you go. There's his ear. Yeah. And I remember at the time watching that, I thought, oh, that looks disgusting.
And again, they're not afraid to have the gore. This was a serious movie, so it's sort of good to see that happening rather than them sugarcoating it. Anyway, so then we're coming up to Khan. Kirk lets Khan know that he's failed because Chekhov is no longer under his control and Thriel's gone. And Kirk taunts Khan, and Khan's not happy at that. And Kirk says, Khan keeps missing the target. You're shooting everyone else, but you keep missing me. And then Khan says, well, perhaps I no longer need to try. And he beams up Genesis and all the data banks and things. And then Kirk knows that he can only win if Khan's down there with him. If he's up on the Reliant, then there's nothing he can do about him. So he tries to taunt him to come down on the planet. And
you're going to have to come and get me.
Yeah. And but Khan says, well, I've done far worse than kill you, Kirk. I've hurt you. And I wish to keep on hurting you. So he's going to maroon him there, buried alive. And then Kirk responds with, oh, I thought you were going to do it. You want to do it now? Do it this time.
I'm trying. Absolutely love it.
Yes. We're not getting sound, so
I was hoping it was showing on my disc. Oh, that's that problem. There's nothing I can do about that. It's the virtual camera doesn't transport the sound, unfortunately. Never mind. We all know what word it was. The word was Khan.
That was excellent. All right, so Kirk, McCoy, Marcus, both Marcuses, David and Carol, and whoever else is left there, probably a red shirt or two, they're stuck there now. And Marcus and Kirk discuss their relationship, basically asking why David was never in Kirk's life. And Marcus said, well, I'm a scientist. I can't be out gallivanting about the galaxy like you were. And I wanted him to grow up in a more stable environment. So he did. But once that conversation's finished, Savik's there as well. That's the other one. And Saavik, she's still upset. Oh, and then Marcus goes and takes them to the Genesis cave. So they'd already tested it inside this asteroid. And it's created all this life. And as Marcus says, there's enough food to last a lifetime. So they're in there. It's a paradise. Savik's still upset about the Kobayashi Maru and wants to know how Kirk went when he did the test. And McCoy says Kirk was the only one to ever beat it. And the reason that he beat it is because he cheated. And Kirk says he doesn't believe in a no-win scenario.
Excellent.
And just to make the point, he pulls out his communicator and calls Spock, who is ready to beam them aboard because they got fixed in 2 hours.
But you said it was going to be 2 days. I don't know how you tricked me on that.
Well, Savik's confused, and Kirk says it was by the book, and then Saavik says, quotes a regulation that if they know they're being monitored, no uncoded messages. Hours would seem like days. So the Enterprise is ready to go. It's still damaged, but it's better than it was. Then Saavik realizes Spock lied. A Vulcan lying. They're not supposed to. But Spock says, no, I exaggerated. And, of course, that dynamic happens a lot in future movies, especially in Star Trek 6. So the Enterprise is hiding from the Reliant by being on the other side of the planetoid.
Again, which is another thing. Yeah, because he calls up what's on the screen now, tactical. How can it, if they can see that the Reliant is on the other side of Regulus or Regular, why can't Khan and his mob, with their tactical, see the Enterprise?
Exactly.
Oh, something else I just noticed, Hugh. I hesitate to say this, but it appears to be a globe.
A globe?
It seems to be, doesn't it?
Regular is flat, isn't
it? Regulus is flat society.
Yeah, but I was also going to add to that by saying, well, they got sensors that can scan whole star systems at once, whole sectors at once, and yet for some reason they couldn't detect a ship on the other side of a planetoid. Really weird. Anyway, so Spock assesses the situation, says the Reliant can outrun and outgun them because it's a newer ship, It's 1864 instead of 1701. But the Mutara Nebula is nearby, where visual scanners won't function and the shields will be useless. But it'll be the same for the Reliant. So that's a target to head towards.
Source for the goose.
Exactly, yeah. So it'll be the same for the Reliant. So they bugger off to the Nebula, and Khan sees them and follows them. But as they approach the Nebula, the Reliant slows because the shields will be useless. But Kirk sees this and so taunts Khan. So Khan says, I'm not going to let him get away with that, so go in anyway. It doesn't matter. And here's where it becomes a submarine movie. Rather than the...
But of course, there's that beautiful line from Kirk when he says, well, he's nothing if not consistent.
Yes. Yes. You think someone with a superior intellect would see that he's actually just playing his emotions.
I fell into that trap. I'll do this. Oh, that's another trap. Oh, no, another. I've been tricked again.
Yes.
Poor Sano Khan.
Anyway, it's the plot works because of it. So, yeah, that's why they had to do it.
Yeah.
So they go into the Nebula, and it becomes a submarine movie, and they're sort of moving around, and they can't see each other, although they sort of get a fuzzy visual occasionally. And somehow the Enterprise comes up on them and fires, and I think the Reliant fires on them as well. In one of these, Blondie Boy dies. Khan's not happy about that, of course. That makes him even more determined. And Spock points out that Khan might be superior in intelligence, but he has no experience commanding a starship in battle. And
I'm glad you mentioned that, Hugh. Spock's pointing out that Khan's not experienced. Well, obviously, Kirk doesn't think of this thing either, does he? So much for his experience.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, you had to have Spock pointed out to him, not Kirk himself.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what Spock's for.
Are you going to say what it is, though?
Well, I did. You talked over me, unfortunately. His thinking is two-dimensional. So he's like he's driving a car instead of a plane. So they changed their Z-axis. So they're above. I think the visuals show that the Enterprise is above the Reliant, and then they come down and swoop down on them. And they managed to blow off one of the Reliant's nacelles. So it's really damaged now. And Khan gets severely hurt. He's got half a pizza smeared over one side of his face. And so now the roles are reversed. Kirk is saying that he's going to board the Reliant. You should surrender. But Khan must have his revenge. So he activates Genesis, quoting Moby Dick while he does it. For hate's sake, I stab at thee, that kind of thing. And the Enterprise scanners detect this. And of course, they're just on auxiliary power. They don't have warp speed. They're all on impulse. And so Kirk says to Scotty, we need warp speed in 3 minutes or we're all dead. And Scotty doesn't know how that's going to happen. But then you see Spock off to the side, contemplate for a minute, and then heads off down to the turbo lift. And in that point, he's basically deciding to die because that's what it's going to take to get warp drive online. When Spock gets down to engineering, McCoy's there tending to Scotty, and he guesses what Spock's up to because Vulcans have they'll be in a radiation chamber. They live longer than a human because they have different physiology. So Spock says that he's the perfect he thinks that he's the perfect person to do this job, to go in there and fix the warp core. Yes, the first time we hear this line, McCoy says to him, "Are you out of your Vulcan mind?"
Yes.
A line that's repeated later in the movies, but yeah. But the radiation that's being given off is going to kill him. That's in this chamber. They're all protected from it because they're outside the chamber, but it's got see-through glass or plexiglass, whatever.
I wonder if it's that transparent aluminum.
It could be, yes.
Although it's a bit wibbly-wobbly at times when someone leans against it.
Yes, and it gets smears on it and things like that. They have to keep it clean all the time. Why would you have why would you need it to be clear anyway? But anyway, so Spock uses the Vulcan neck pitch on McCoy so that he shuts up, and he goes into the chamber and starts working on the thing that's in there, whatever it is. It doesn't really matter because he's getting all this light is coming up out of it and irradiating him, so he's going to die.
Well, I mean, that's on screen now, and this was, the set I think is pretty pretty good. It looks futuristic. It looks believable. That like you said, whatever it is, it's something to do with the engine. The actual streaming light looks very good. But look as Spock takes the lid off it. You watch that. Look, the whole thing's wibbly wobbly. Look at it. It's going to fall over. Right, yeah, but it's going to fall over. Yeah. It's just sat there in the middle of the floor. But I like the special effect with the light coming out. That I thought was quite effective.
I also thought it was interesting. Spock's going in there. He knows he's not going to come out of it alive.
Yep.
But he grabs the gloves off Scotty.
Yes. Well, you don't want to muck up your nails, do you? Perhaps he just done his nails.
Yes, maybe. Anyway, so he's in there. He fixes whatever it is he needs to fix to get warp drive back online. Scotty wakes up and starts yelling at Spock, "Spock, don't do this." But Spock does what he has to do. So on the bridge, they don't know this is going on, and they're counting down until Genesis activates and kills them all. And they're unable to do anything. It's a no-win scenario as far as they're concerned. But Spock fixes it, and Bridge sees the mains are online, and Kirk says, "Sulu, go, go, go!" And they warp out of there. And just as they warp out of there, Genesis detonates behind them. And so Kirk gets on the comm and says, "Oh, congratulations, Scotty." But Bones is on the phone instead and says that Kirk better get down there. And Kirk notices that Spock's missing from the bridge. Meanwhile, a planet forms from the nebula, or the material in the nebula gets sort of sucked into the Genesis thing and becomes a planetoid. Probably better to say a planetoid because we don't know what it is. And then when Kirk gets down to engineering, Scotty tells Kirk that he's dead already, which was a very poignant line. Yeah, it was a very poignant line, that one, because it was, again...
I mean, it's absolutely factual, but he said it quite heartlessly. He's dead already. Don't waste your time.
Well, don't kill yourself, basically. But, again...
the very compartment.
I thought it was a very poignant line for Star Trek to actually admit that death was happening.
Yeah.
And probably we should take a step back. Spock, well, it's not Spock, Leonard Nimoy, they had a miserable experience doing the motion picture. None of them really enjoyed themselves at all, and that comes out in the film, I think. But on this film, they had a really good experience. They really enjoyed doing what they were doing. But after the motion picture, Nimoy said, "Look, I'll do one more, but then you've got to kill off my character because I'm not interested in doing more," because he was getting a lot of work from other places. I've realised I've forgotten to say a key point.
Yes, I know what you're going to say.
Yes.
With McCoy.
You go. Yeah, you do it.
Oh, okay. Let me then... I'll tell you what, I'll just take that off. I'll whiz back. What had happened is, as you said, he was saying to McCoy, "I'm going to go in there," and McCoy says, "You can't because of the radiation." He says, "Well..." but basically, despite the fact you're a Vulcan, you're still not going to be able to stand it. But Spock gives him the Vulcan pinch, and just before he's going in, he does like a mind meld thing on McCoy and says one word: "Remember." And that's just it's in this film. It's throwaway, isn't it? It's just It just says "remember." No idea what that's about. That's it.
Yeah, at this point, we don't know why he did it. We don't know what it's supposed to do. It's a bit of a mystery. And they did it in reshoots because it wasn't in the film originally. But by the time they got to reshoots, Nimoy was saying, "Well, maybe I will come back for a future movie." And
of course,
good Star Trek 3 was all about that,
isn't it?
Well, yeah. And in fact, Nimoy directed the third movie too. So it all sort of fit in. And they said, "Well, how can I possibly come back?" "Well, just do this with McCoy using your Vulcan magic powers, and we'll see what happens." And they built Star Trek 3 around that, which was, quite clever, really. So yeah, that's an important part of the plot, even though it's like a momentary thing. So then we have the final death scene of Spock, and they're on either side of the plexiglass. Kirk on one side, Spock on the other. When Spock's aware that Kirk's there, he gets up and adjusts his uniform, even though he's about to die, because his commanding officer is there. And
it was respect, wasn't it? He respected his officer and my friend.
I thought that was great. And I thought that was
I
great.
found it as a very touching scene. I mean, Shatner is not known as the best actor.
No.
But I mean, I've always liked him. Apart from in T.J. Hooker, that was crap. But yes, I thought that this scene was actually pretty moving. And right from the top of this stream, Hugh, when I said about watching this when I was a kid with my dad, I thought Spock was amazing alien and Captain Kirk was a hero and all this sort of thing. So literally, these two guys are part of my earliest memory, right?
Yeah.
And watching this film, when I watched it the first time, and actually watching it again just a few days ago, just as a reminder, I found it really, to me personally, pretty damn moving because it meant so much to my life, these guys, this TV series, the characters. I was really, what's the word, invested in the characters.
And that's a sign of a good movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
The whole point of any art is to give you an emotional response of any kind, and this certainly does that. And in fact, I think if this scene wasn't in it, this movie wouldn't be anywhere near as good because it defines the stakes. They survived, but only because Spock died. And that is such a dynamic, and he's such a loved character. It's such a dynamic that if it was missing from the film just wouldn't be the same. So he goes through the famous lines of saying, ship out of danger. Of course, it's out of danger now. And he said, it's logical. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. And he once again says to Kirk, I am and have always been your friend. Gives him the Vulcan sign through the glass and tells him to live long and prosper, and collapses. And Kirk is, as you can see in this picture, absolutely devastated. A piece of Kirk died as well with Spock. And it's just amazingly well done. You were saying about Shatner not being the best of actors, but I think in this movie he proved that he actually can act, especially in the funeral scene coming up.
I wasn't trying to belittle him.
No.
I mean, I think he is a good actor, but sometimes his delivery, he's got very much a style over his delivery. I think that became Kirk. That became Kirk. Did you know? Here's a little aside. Leonard Nimoy is the only character, or the only actor from through the original TV series. He's the only one who was on the pilot.
Yes. Yeah.
And he was absolutely atrocious on that. If you've ever seen it, I think it was called The Cage.
Yes.
Absolutely appalling. He was so stilted. But of course, he hadn't settled into his character. He was Spock, and he was a Vulcan. He had pointy ears. But apart from that, in fact, it was so wrong that there's an element when he's on the planet and he's touching these plants, and he smiles because he finds it pleasing, which, of course, a Vulcan wouldn't, because Vulcans don't have those sort of emotions.
Well, at that point, they hadn't really established what a Vulcan was.
No, exactly. Yeah. That was just a pilot.
Yeah. And apparently Roddenberry they had Margelle Barrett there, I think that's the way you pronounce it, who became Gene Roddenberry's wife. And she played number one.
And the computer. That's right.
Yeah.
That's true. And the computer voice on Next Generation. And lots of them.
Yes, and Troy's mother, Loxana Troy. That's it.
That's right. Yes.
But the point with the Cage, the pilot, the studio, it was too much of a step forward to have both the alien, who looked like a demon as far as people were concerned.
Yes, that's right. Because of the point he is.
And a woman in a position of power. And Roddenberry was told, get rid of one or the other.
Yeah.
And
we'll take the aliens, but no women.
Well, the way Roddenberry puts it, I kept the alien and married the woman.
Yeah. So now I've got to put her in, haven't I?
Yeah, but it wasn't because she was a woman she got rid of him. But it was more that it's in space, so aliens have to be there. That's the vision that he had. So women came later, and went a step further. Had Uhuru as a black woman as well.
The shock, shock of it.
Well, it got even worse. Kirk kissed her at one point. So, bit of a shock for her, of course. More than him. Anyway, so yeah, Star Trek's always been groundbreaking in that way. So it's good. It's always, I remember Martin Luther King. Well, Nicole Nichols, who plays Uhura. Uhura, sorry. Why am I saying Uhura? Professor Phil Bell says, "Hello, gentlemen," and huge ass. So you're the gentleman.
Greetings,
and I'm huge
Professor.
Hello, Phil. How are you?
Live long and prosper.
Martin Luther King, Nichelle Nichols said that Martin Luther King came up and spoke to her once and said that she was actually thinking of leaving the show because she didn't really have a lot to do on the comms. And Martin Luther King said, no, people seeing a black woman at the front of a popular TV series, that's really important for the civil rights movement, as it was at the time.
Yeah, and, because she had a bridge officer role. I'm not being funny. It's not like they had her working in the galley or something like that. We're talking about the late 1960s. I mean, hell, they still had to have all the female officers in rather short mini skirts. Yeah. But the fact that there was a black woman as a bridge officer was phenomenal. Yeah, it
was a big step forward. It was something that people hadn't seen before. I think she was the very first person to be in a major role in that way, the first black woman. So yeah, Star Trek's always been setting the tone for the future in that way. I think everyone at that time knew why it was there, because it was going to be that way. We know it's inevitably going to be that way in the future anyway. So why muck around when we're portraying the future? It did ruffle a lot of feathers, but
tough.
But more people liked it than didn't, and that's to the credit of everyone. Anyway, Spock's dying. So now we move on to Spock has died, actually. So we move on to the funeral, and Savik's there, who's a Vulcan, and she's crying. And,
yes, I know. I noticed that.
It says in the script, although it never comes out in the movie, that she's half Romulan. So maybe
which would explain why. I mean, I said at the top, but I didn't think I wasn't aware of that, but I didn't think she looked particularly Vulcan.
Yeah. Well, Romulans are Vulcans, really. They just have some ridges on their forehead.
Yeah.
They're very similar. And but she's crying there, and she said this in an interview. She's crying there because they were killing off such a loved character. It was her own personal grief. She was a massive Trekkie. She had to be on this movie.
That's good, because often these actors aren't.
That's right. Some of them have never even seen
I know it's a different universe, but Stargate universe, Eli, the young sort of computer hackery guy, he had never watched a Stargate before he was in it. So he bought, rented, did whatever, and watched every single one. That's the way to do it. So he knew the universe.
Well, so did Harve Bennett, who was the producer, and Nicholas Meyer, the director. So, yeah, they were able to bring the essence of what it is to the movie. But she wasn't meant to be crying. But because it added something to the scene, they kept it in. They used that take, so it was good. So yeah, and Shatner gives a eulogy, which to me proves that he can act. The way he did it, the pauses, the emotion, he's just barely holding back, but still expresses to some extent. But gets the balance perfectly right.
The way he acts Kirk sort of helped fall into that, because he does pause dramatically as he speaks. We will not question my friend's great wisdom at this event, or whatever it was he said.
Yeah. But strangely, he says, of all the souls I've encountered, his was the most human.
Oh, great. So now you've insulted him.
Yeah. Well, he's half human. He was half human, Spock.
He was indeed.
But then Scotty's there with his bagpipes.
Patrick Stewart had never seen Star Trek before taking the part of Picard. I'd seen them all. I'd seen every single one of them.
Yes, you're Patrick Stewart. Yeah. See, there you are, Patrick Stewart. Do the face palm. There we go. Well done, Mr. Sandstorm. But yeah, I think this funeral scene, there was not a dry eye in the house in any movie theater who saw this. You felt something when you saw this for the first time, at least. They've got Spock in a torpedo and they fire him out. and it heads down to the Genesis planet, and where it meets the Terminator, the sun comes out. So
just going back to that a second. Here's the Mark 6, I think, torpedo tube. No, I'm not that much of a nerd. I just remember seeing it on the casing when I watched this a couple of days ago. But as this goes along the runners, which seems a very inefficient delivery mechanism for the torpedo, and they've also had to lift up gratings manually from all along that run.
And put them somewhere.
What happens? You get little lights. Come on. Why? What the hell is that for? That you have to have lots of little lights light up as it goes along.
And the answer is it looks good in the movie.
Oh, that'll be it. That'll be it.
Yeah.
That's why I don't design starships for a living. That will explain it.
Yes. Yeah, well, I don't either, funnily enough. Yeah, you live in one, of course, as I can see from the background. But
yes. This is the Constitution. No, it's not Constitution class, is it? That's Enterprises. The old
Galaxy class.
Yeah, this is Galaxy class. That's Constitution class.
Yeah,
this is like a Hilton. This is
pretty much, in comparison. So the torpedo goes out and becomes the sunrise on the Genesis planet, and those graphics were pretty awful. That was CGI, but it was 1982. You got to remember.
Yes. So I think any flat earthers should, 82. And despite the fact that they spent less money on this film, they still spent a lot of money. And that is the best they could do for, doing a computer graphic globe.
Yeah.
That would have cost a fortune to do. Yet NASA can produce them at the drop of a hat. We've got Himawari producing high-resolution images where the cloud images match what you can see if you happen to be in an area that gets imaged. Yeah, that's CGI.
Well, they were doing it back in 1972 with the blue marble, weren't they?
Yeah, it's a joke, isn't it? Flat
Earth is a joke, yes. Anyway, so next scene is Kirk is in his quarters, relaxing, wanting to read his Dickens book, which Spock gave him, and finds that his glasses are broken. So he just has to hold his book out a long way. His arms aren't long enough, really. But David comes in and says Savick was right. He's never really faced death because of Kobayashi Maru, that he cheated. And Kirk agrees. He says he's never faced death like this with Spock. He's tricked death, he's cheated death, but he's never really faced it like this. David says that he was wrong about Kirk, because he was in conflict with Kirk all the way through the movie, even though David sort of only has about 4 lines. And he's proud to be his son, and so they hug.
Oh, sweet, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe he was pickpocketing him at the time, nicking his communicator or something.
Maybe. Who knows? Delinquent son raised by a single mother, that kind of thing. There's lots of songs written along those lines. So there's an ending captain's log. They're saying they're heading to SETI Alpha 5 to pick up the crew that was left there from the Reliant. And he says that if Genesis is life from death, then he must return to the Genesis planet, which he does in the next movie.
Well, that's if he remembers, because he certainly didn't remember to check up on Khan, did he? And
that's
crew.
right, yeah. Well, he's learned his lesson.
Favoritism. So he would check up on his dead mate, but not on 20 people he abandoned on the planet.
Yeah. Anyway, McCoy asks how he feels. And despite having his 50th birthday a few days before, Kirk says he feels young. I feel young. And the movie ends showing Spock's coffin on the new planet surrounded by life. And the music comes up, and again, it's absolutely spot on. It's just what you want to feel. And they finish off with Spock doing the usual space, the final frontier, because at that point they thought Spock was never going to appear in another Star Trek movie, so they gave him the opportunity to do it.
Yeah. And he said that the words, I believe that there was a couple of minor differences, but he did say where no man has gone before.
Yeah.
Which is what I think it should be. Again, that's not male or female. It's no man as in no human. But of course, Next Generation, it's where no one has gone before.
Also, Kirk corrects that in Star Trek 6 at the end of that by saying no one.
Oh, he does.
But he says both. He says no man, no one has gone before.
Oh, right. Okay.
maybe we should do it in Kirk voice. He says, "No man, no one has gone before." Anyway, that I am surprised we have gotten through that in the same time as the movie runs. So that's a pretty good option. You know, we were having lots of tangents and things like that. The movie must have a lot of filler. I guess that's the point. Let's see what's happening in the chat. Tang. Yes, we need Tang. Why didn't Star Trek have Tang?
Tang?
Yeah. Oh, Dora says, "May the Force go boldly where no one has gone before." Poontang. Oh, I see. That yeah, for Kirk. Yeah. Any closing thoughts on Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan?
I did enjoy it. It was Star Trek. Don't get me wrong. I did actually enjoy Star Trek the movie. Yes, the special effects at the end was too long. Just to be honest, as it was too long in 2001: Space Odyssey, but then it was really amazing. Yeah, I literally have loved these characters since I was about 6 years old. Okay, so the whole Star Trek universe means so much to me. I did enjoy this one. I enjoyed the next one, but then it starts becoming a bit jokey. The characters, it's too many. It's getting to the point. There's too many in jokes. One of the worst of which was, and I think it's in the next one, is when Scott is making his way down some corridor or other and says, "I know this ship like the back of my hand." Bang! I thought that was so unfunny, so set up. It was ridiculous.
That was from Star Trek V. But yeah.
5 was Undiscovered Country. Was that Undiscovered Country?
No, that's The Final Frontier. The one that Kirk wrote and directed. It was a vanity project, really.
Yeah.
So Tusk is asking, what do we think of the new Space Trek movies with Chris Pike and James T. Kurt? Oh, no, he's deleted it. New Space Trek movies. Oh, I see. Yeah, Christopher Pine, I think he means.
The new Star Trek movies.
Yeah, from 2009 was the first one, and then they had
the reboots.
Into Darkness and the last one, Beyond.
Well, I think that the guy, because I don't actually know who's who, the guy who played Spock was phenomenal.
Yeah,
it took no time at all just to accept him as Spock.
Brilliant. Too emotional, though. The writing for him wasn't that great.
Maybe, but he was Spock. It took longer to get used to the Kirk. I mean, yeah, he's got the elements of Kirk, the sort of gung-ho, we're going to go in and rescue everyone and get the woman and do these daring leaps, you know, across from gantry to gantry, all those sort of things. I reckon he's got it. I'm not unhappy with it, you know, or him. And I don't really see, to be honest, that you could get much closer to in effect, redoing Kirk. Spock, I think, is 100%. I can't believe that. Absolutely stunning. Didn't he run himself over with a car? Was that him?
No, that was Chekhov.
Oh, right.
Yeah, right. Anton, can't remember his last name. He was killed in that accident where he's left to break off his car while he was opening a gate.
Himself over.
Yeah. My thoughts on when the 2009 movie came out, I was excited because it was Star Trek on the way it used to be, or at least it looked like it the way it used to be for the first time in since Undiscovered Country.
Sorry, Hugh, go on, carry on.
So seeing the old uniforms, not that they're quite the same, but updated, a bit like Battlestar Galactica was updated. I didn't like the emotional Spock. They didn't seem to get the character. Spock, played Spock as if he was always seething underneath the calm exterior, which it wasn't. Spock, whenever Spock showed emotion, like when he said, "Be careful" to Jim, it was there because he's half human, but it was a part of him. It wasn't just seething underneath. And it always became much more poignant when he was emotional, because most of the time he wasn't emotional. Whereas in the new ones, Spock always seems to be emotional all the time, and he's in love with Uhura, and they seem to be changing the dynamic. It used to be Bones, Spock, and Kirk, and they made Spock have a relationship with the Uhura to try and change that. So they brought a woman into that dynamic, and Bones is sort of doesn't really have a lot to do, really, even though he's probably the best actor out of a lot of them, the guy who plays that, who's an Australian, by the way. But yeah, and then the movie was all right, I guess, and then they had Into Darkness, which was meant to be another form of Wrath Khan, which didn't hit the mark at all. I love Benedict Cumberbatch. He's a brilliant actor, but the writing just wasn't there for it in that one. I love the beginning of that movie. To me, I thought that was real Star Trek. They're on this other planet. Everything was just different from Earth. And the whole volcano, the ship was under the water and things like that. I forgot to say spoilers at the beginning of this. It's a bit late now, isn't it? I think if you come to a cheesy review, you expect spoilers. And then the rest of the movie was just action. They're just doing action for action's sake, and that sort of didn't really work. And then Beyond, I've watched that once, and I don't want to watch it again.
Which one? I can't think.
Beyond,
which one?
Well, that describes how effective it was as a movie. Beyond, the alien with the black and white stripes on its face, and it's where the Enterprise gets destroyed by these flying robots and things. It was all a bit ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
I can't even remember the plot, to be honest. Oh, they found an old spaceship, and after 100 years, somehow they got it space worthy in a few minutes.
Yes. And he had that sort of. Wasn't it some sort of motorbike thing or motorbike he was whizzing around on? Is that the one?
Right, yeah.
Yes, and all the ice sort of stuff flinging out the back. That was a bit odd. But I do like, what's his name? The comedian bloke. What's his name?
Scotty.
Who played Scotty, yeah. I mean, he was not the same as Scotty, but I like him anyway.
Yeah, he brought his own thing to the role, yeah.
Yes.
His wife is actually Scottish, so he got the accent from his wife.
Okay.
And although I think his wife's Glaswegian, whereas James Doohan based it on a Aberdeen accent.
Can he change the laws of physics?
I can't really tell the difference myself, being an Australian, but I don't know how the English do. There he is.
No.
We're still not getting the sound, unfortunately. But anyway.
No, it won't feed through. It's a virtual camera, but the sound's coming from my mic, not from there. Yeah. Got the same problem. I tried to use this virtual camera to Discord. Discord can see it, but it only picks up the sound from the mic, not from that. I did have a word with Colon, and he says you need to install Voice Meter Potato or something like that, or spinach, or God knows what. I'm not going to muck around with that.
That's why I don't muck around with OBS. It's just too confusing. This is nice and easy for just having a chat, really, and that's all you need. So in the end, like I said at the beginning, this is probably the movie. Wrath Khan is the movie that most people would rate as the best movie. I personally think that Undiscovered Country, number 6, was a more complete movie. They'd certainly gotten their act together by then.
Yes, with the Klingons.
And I think number 3 is worth a mention too, because they did so well there. It was just the nature of the plot wasn't that great. I think the first half was brilliant, and the second half was sort of felt thrown together. But anyway, maybe that's for a future review.
Could be. Talking about Scots.
Well, I'm grateful to everyone who's watching. We got 35 watching, which.
I didn't give it a like. I'm going to give it a like because I really like that bold bloke. I think everyone should like it just because of the bold bloke.
Yeah, he's good. Fat bloke's not so good, but yeah.
Baddie, Klingons, Romulans, or Borg? I tell you what, Romulans, they've always been a traditional baddie, but they didn't. We don't know that much about their history. We know that they're a split from the Vulcans, but in many ways they're quite similar, just a bit fighty. But the Klingons, I mean, over the course of Next Generation especially, they really built them up as a culture with a language, the traditions, and so on. So they're my favourite. But the Borg are just unstoppable, aren't they?
Yeah,
oh,
and
what
I think
about what's named the Borg Queen? Oh yeah, Borg Queen.
Oh yeah.
She can assimilate me whenever she wants.
Yes. Yeah, she came back for the same actress, Alice Cruz, came back in a Voyager episode as well. Well, several.
Oh, did she?
Yeah. They
Oh,
initially
as
used
the
a different
Queen.
actress. Yeah, as the Queen. They
Yeah.
initially used a separate actress because she wasn't available, and then she became available later on. But yeah, she was good. But I would say the Borg were the best baddies. Klingons became friends, so they sort of aren't pure baddies in that sense. And of course, in Star Trek 3, they're definitely the baddies. And Christopher,
we're totally forgetting about Deep Space Nine. That always gets sidelined. I really
Dominion.
enjoyed Yes, the Dominion. And I can't remember the name. Was the Dominion a collective of several races? I'm not sure.
Yes,
but
Jem'Hadar were their warriors.
Jem'Hadar, that's it. With the ears, I thought they were brilliant. So cold and calculating. They were a bit more Romulan than Romulans. And of course, in Enterprise, they did more with the. Can't think of the what?
Xindi.
No, before then, the blue ones with the antennae.
The Andorians.
Andorians, yes, which were more traditional sort of aliens, weren't they? Because that's how they would have been drawn in the 60s, aliens with antennae. Yeah. Or they're usually green.
Well, that was the Orions, yeah.
Yes.
With
and the Cardassians in Deep Space Nine. Fantastic. Heartless guards.
Yeah, I love the Cardassians. They're so arrogant. You just wanted them to get their comeuppance.
And the makeup with the sort of tendons on their neck and then the wide neckline really low to accentuate the look. I thought that their makeup was probably the best out of all the aliens. Absolutely brilliant.
They really looked alien, didn't they?
Yeah.
And the two main Cardassians was
Gul
Dukat and Garak. And Garak was played by the guy who played in Dirty Harry, the villain in Dirty Harry. And he was, both of them, brilliant actors. I think Garak was a better actor, actually, because Garak's character, he's that conflicted. He's with the Federation, but he's Cardassian. He knows all these secret things. He's had this terrible life. He was a brilliant
character. Hugh, that they've actually just started a new TV series, keeping up with the Cardassians.
Oh, right, yeah. Yes, they've got elongated bits too, haven't they?
Definitely. They were the best looking aliens. The makeup was phenomenal, I think. Absolutely.
Yes, and when they walk away from you, they take a long time to go out of sight because things are so large.
Are you talking about perspective or flirspective?
Flirspective. Yeah. All right, so I don't know about you. I didn't get a lot of views, so there's a market for this, but not a large one, and that's fine. I think I had fun doing this. Did you have fun?
I had fun.
Yeah.
Well, I think what you should do is at some point perhaps poll your subs on your community tab and see what they think. Maybe if they did enjoy it, Hugh, it might be, well, okay, that's fine, but don't want to work through Star Trek 3, 4, 5, whatever. Let's do something to Gone with the Wind, Wizard of Oz, whatever. Might be.
All right, well, why don't we do it on your channel next time? You pick the movie, I pick this one.
Oh.
And we'll just do that and alternate between our channels.
That's interesting. Maybe we could introduce people to something. No, but you end up giving it away then if it's a film that no one's seen. Interesting. Have a think on that, Hugh. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
7 of 9, or Deanna Troi, 7 of 9. Definitely 7 of 9.
She can assimilate me anytime.
Yeah. 7. Oh, Mike 71 suggests Red Dwarf. But yeah, 7 of 9. Although
it's not really a movie though, so it's a bit harder to review.
But T'Pol from Star Trek Enterprise. Oh wow! And in the early ones, of course, they went down to some planet. When they came back, they didn't have they weren't using the transporters with what is it? You know, sort of genetic filters or whatever. And they actually, Dr. Phlox got them to rub each other down with some sort of jelly. Terrible. Terrible. Oh, look. You've
Super
got
chat
a
from
super
Dora
chat.
and Koo for €5. Thank you very much, Dora. And I had some fun, some chew toys for both the corgis and me.
Have they got one for? Yeah. How many corgis have you got, Hugh?
Two.
Okay.
Those pictures you see on Dora's super chat, that's those two.
Oh, those are actually them. Oh, okay.
Yes.
I can't show it, but I've got an Arnold now on mine. Oh no, because it just
Cartoon
shows.
Arnold. Yeah.
Oh, hold on. No, I can see your. Oh, they're gone now.
If you bring him up, I'll make you full screen.
Yeah, I can see yours. No, it was I can see the standard YouTube emojis. No, it's fine because I've got my own member emojis. So, but I just wondered if they'd be available to me when I'm on another channel, but it appears not. No, Never mind.
Remember, go sign up now. Speaking of members, I might just run my member role. So, thank you very much to all my channel members. It's getting to the point where I have to rethink that role because it's getting longer and longer. So if you want to become a channel member, click the join button down below.
I was thinking about that, Hugh. It is. I used to read out my patrons. Literally, I'd read every single one. Then eventually, okay, I just need to do the ones that join. Read out the ones that joined within the last month, and then it was getting to a point that I was literally running out of breath trying to do it, and then I eventually had to. Just not. I just put, highlighted them as new, and now I don't do that. I just scroll through them all.
Yep. But we're grateful for everyone who makes those sort of contributions. A lot of people have given me a donation through Ko-fi, ko-fi.com. I don't read out those names because usually the real name is used, so I don't know what your alias is. So, but thank you very much to everyone who's made a donation for those, and of course, thank you very much to my channel members. And if you want to be a channel member, click the join button down below. Actually, I haven't put it in this description. I will later. Links to all the coffee and all that kind of thing. Just look at one of my recent videos if you want to get them right now. So I think that's bringing things to a close. Thank you very much, Mr. Sensible, for joining me. I've really enjoyed having the opportunity to have a chat about this with you.
My pleasure. Can't go wrong with a bit of Star Trek, can you?
That's right, yeah, and especially the best Star Trek. So,
yeah, loved it. Thank you very much for asking me on, Hugh.
Oh, it's great to have I think our dynamic works a little bit. It's good.
Yeah, well, I tried when I was doing the video. I tried to be judicious with the clips I played. I hope I didn't do too much to attract any paramount attention.
Yeah, let me have a look. See if I've been something.
Well, I suspect it would take a while because the and bearing in mind we've talked for however long it is, a couple of hours.
Yeah. I'm still green. Yeah. Still green.
Yeah. Well, if they do it, I would challenge it, and I would put that it's fair use. It's what do you call it? It's commentary on it, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's definitely fair use. That's for sure. I would think.
Yeah, it's not like you're just showing the film.
Dora's alerting me that apparently Auntie Hervin Salo is a new member. So welcome aboard, Auntie Hervin Salo. You'll be on the next member role when I have another video or live stream.
Nice one.
Yes, thank you to all the members. So now I've got 12. Woohoo! Yeah, it's amazing. I've been monetized for a week now, and I'm amazed that so many people want to throw money at me, and they've worked hard for that money. I very much appreciate it.
Yeah,
and hopefully,
I'd agree absolutely. I mean, I've had people, Hugh, who have said to me, "Oh, Mr. S, I would love to become a patron or a member, whatever, but I'm not in a position to," and it's almost heartbreaking because I wouldn't want anyone to be in a position where they had to find it difficult to do that. When someone does become, for instance, my patrons start at £1 or £1.99. I forget whatever the lowest level is, and whether someone's a patron at that level, not a patron at a higher level, a member. I've got some people who are both. It doesn't matter. The fact is, when people come watch, when they join in the comments, when they, it's great when they do, and it really is lovely, and I'm grateful, and I'm sure you are too. But we more than understand that not everyone can do that, or perhaps not everyone wants to do that, and that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, the fact that they do it voluntarily, it's just a wonderful thing. We're very grateful for that. We as creators put a lot of work into the videos we produce. I do 6 to 8 hours on each video, and I put out about 80 of them. So it's a lot of hours for which I've been paid nothing, and now I'm monetized. Yeah. I'm getting a little bit back, which is great. I'm very grateful that people are expressing their appreciation for the work that I do, and of course the same for you. But even if you aren't in a position, and a lot of people aren't in this pandemic time, to make a financial contribution, just watching the video, clicking like, sharing it on social media, Facebook or Twitter.
That's actually worth quite a lot to us, people sharing.
The algorithm picks that up really well, and that means more people get to see our videos. So if you can't contribute in money, we're grateful for everyone who can. But if you can't, then contribute in those ways, and that helps so much. We put a comment on every video as well. That'd be great too.
And don't forget to hit that like button.
Yes. Well, we've got 27 watching and 38 likes, and 1 dislike from Gary Wybenga. So that's
Gary,
pretty good.
You let us down, lad.
We got more likes than people watching, so that's pretty awesome.
That's good. Good mix.
Dog Walker says we need more corgis, so maybe I'll see if I'm working a few more corgis. I was coming up with a character called Suspicious Corgi. So whenever a Flurf shows something that's really dodgy, like Daniel Pratt, then I'll have the Suspicious Corgi come up and sort of give a judging glance at him.
Yes, someone sent me a message when we were in on this stream. Daniel Pratt has just been doing something rather. I've not looked at it, but let me just scroll back just to.
Well, no doubt it's disgusting.
Yes, it's called Reshape. All right, #Simon Dan, the pinnacle of PEDDOW. So pedo, the pinnacle of pedo loving, Nazi worshipping. I don't know what the rest is. It gets cut off. So he is now stepping into that mudslinging of pedophile.
He clearly has no argument. So
no, which is disgusting. So, in fact, the link that was sent to me was please go to YouTube and report this video.
Yes.
I could share the link in here if you wish, Hugh. If not, anyone can just go and check out Daniel Pratt's channel and find it.
Which is currently called Reshaping Our World.
Reshaping Our World, yes.
If you do a YouTube search for Daniel Pratt but select channel, it'll come up.
Yeah.
But
so
Daniel Pratt obviously has no argument.
I would never tell people to go and report a video or anything, but you may have a glance at it and consider what actions you may wish to take. Personally, I think based on that title, it is quite likely I will be reporting it. That's me.
Yes.
But everyone else can make up their own minds.
Well, YouTube takes a very dim view of hate speech, and that sounds pretty close to hate speech to me, but you can make your own judgment.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, of course.
He's also telling people to kill themselves, which is, again, that's wishing harm on people. And
yes, that's against YouTube's terms of service, isn't it? What's wrong with these people? Daniel
Pratt's a downer. I don't want to end on his note. Thank you to everyone who's here. A few people have just come in late. Bob Nodell's Gyroscope's just come in.
Thanks,
you
Bob.
missed most of the show, mate. You'll have to watch it again. And Chris Durham Music Channel didn't know we were on. So how about that? An FE peer review as well has just come in.
Hello, FE. And I did get your submission. Hugh, may I put a little shill out? It's not directly for me. It's more. It's for anyone who doesn't know. Once again, I'm doing a 1-minute debunk show at some point in the near future. Any and everyone including flat earthers, is invited to submit a 1-minute debunk video. It can be about flat earth, other conspiracies, basically anything apart from politics. You're not required to have a YouTube. Well, to be honest, I hadn't considered that.
Okay.
That would probably be a good thing to avoid as well. I suppose then there's things like creationism, Noah's Ark, stuff like that. So, yeah, I think I might have to take a video on that and take a view on it.
You'll exercise your judgment, yes.
Yes, I might have to, because I hadn't considered that. Otherwise, I would have sort of made up a rule about it. So basically, it's a 1-minute video. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. You don't have to get yourself a USS Enterprise. You can do it with a green screen. You can do it without. You can do it with bits of paper. You can appear on it. You can just talk on it. Doesn't matter. Just 60-second video debunking something. It's just for fun. It's not to criticize people's video making ability. Hopefully someone will come up with an interesting or fun argument about one of these conspiracies. I know that last time, a chap's name escapes me right now, with regard to Globe Earth, came up with towing tanks. You know, the long tanks of water they use to tow model ships to see how they behave on the sea. They're built with a curve. And wow, I learned something. So whatever you want, there's no prize. It's just for the fun of it. Okay. Done it twice before and everyone's pretty much enjoyed it. So if you're thinking about it, have a crack at it, because I can still fit in a few more videos. I need a couple more, but I can fit in more than that. So please have a go. You can just email me, mr-sensible@hotmail.com. My email is also in the description of my videos, or you can come onto my Discord and DM me. You can send me a link to an unlisted video on YouTube. We can use Google Drive or something to get a video to me. But please have a go. Thank you, Hugh.
So if you're watching this in the future, make sure that you check on Mr. Sensible's channel, because it might have already happened.
Yes.
But if you're around, what's today's date? The 6th of March, maybe a week either side. Well, not either side, but a week into the future, it's probably still going to happen. I've submitted a video to Mr. Sensible, and I intend to send another one, although the idea isn't quite forming in my head yet. But we'll get there. It's only a minute. It doesn't take that long. So, yeah, that's I was in his last one. That was really good, and they're always really good. This is your third time around, I believe, from memory.
It is indeed. And what the payback, if you like, that people do get is every submission gets obviously mentioned and shown, but they'll get a link back in the video description. So there'll be a live stream where we show them all and everyone talks about them, laughs, argues, whatever. But afterwards, then I reissue a short video just with the 1-minute debunks back to back. So hopefully it gets traffic to other channels as well.
That's right. If you're a smaller channel, it's worthwhile doing, because it gives you a bit of exposure on a larger channel. You've got nearly 9,000 members now, haven't you?
I have indeed. Yeah.
So, yeah, awesome. No Dora, not Mr. Hyphen with hyphen spelled out, or Mr. spelled out.
I don't know if it will let me do it.
Mr. H Sensible, okay. H for hyphen.
Yeah, Mr. Hyphen Sensible.
Because that's the chat is delayed too, is it?
Yeah, I've whacked it in the chat. But my email address is on all my videos anyway, so anyone can find it out from there.
And speaking of which, I may as well shill out 2 things I'm doing. One is the equinox is coming up, just 14 days time, 2 weeks. Last equinox, I called for submissions from all over the world to take a measurement of the sunrise or the sunset at the point closest to the equinox and get the compass heading on it. And film it so that, you're definitely filming the sunset or sunrise. And then we compared that to how it worked on the flat Earth, and it didn't. But it worked perfectly on the globe Earth. And so I thought, for completeness, we'll do it again at the other equinox and just see if the same thing happens. So if you want to submit me a short video of you, have to wait. It has to be after the 20th, of course. There's a video on my channel, which I should look up, I guess, with all the details on it. Where is it? Equinox Escapades Mark II is what it's called. Let me copy that and dump it in the chat. All right, good. there you are. So go to that video, and all the details are there, and email and Discord and that sort of thing are in the description. So yeah, Andreas L did it, and that was fun. He did a really good video. I really enjoyed his. And again, it doesn't have to be any particular length, but a minute or two is good. It depends how long the sun takes to set, I guess, or rise. I tried to do it, and it was cloudy where I was, both for sunset and sunrise, but I'll be trying again this year. And the other thing that I'm calling for, it's coming up in June at the solstice. One of the things that flat earthers, kills flat Earth is the fact that you can see the same stars at the same time from South America, Southern Africa, and Western Australia, because we're on a globe, not a flat plane. It's not possible on a flat plane because they're completely different directions. And so I'm going to do a live stream where I'm getting people from each of those places, and I've got at least one person from each of those places. And I'd like to get more, because the more data points, the better it is. And I'll live stream them filming the stars so that we can prove once and for all that you do see the same stars from different locations. They'll have to film so that they can prove they are in that location as well. I'll be doing a video about that soon, just to reinvigorate people's enthusiasm about it. I tried to do it last year, but my channel was too small to attract enough people. But I want to attract more people this time and prove it once and for all, because I don't think we really have anything that does that at the moment. No, I don't think I've found a video where anyone's done that. So we get it done, and that way it's definitive, to be a flat earth killer. So yeah, nice. Go to my channel and watch out for the video describing that. I'll wait till the equinox one gets out of the way so that we don't overload you. So I think that pretty much wraps it up. We'll do another one of these on Mr. Sensible's channel in the near future, and maybe another one back on my channel. We'll see how we go. Thank you to everyone who's been in the chat, chatting away. Thank you to all the super chats. Thank you to my channel members and those who have donated on coffee. Thank you to Mr. Sensible for being a part of this. It's been great to have a long chat with you and talk about something we love, and especially given your history with Star Trek. That's fantastic.
Make it so, number one.
Absolutely. Let us engage.
Thank you, Hugh. I did enjoy it. It was fun. It's nice talking about that sort of stuff. And as it's quite obvious, it means that subject means a lot to me personally.
Yeah.
So thank you.
That's awesome. All right. So I'm going to roll the outro, and headphone warning for everyone. And thank you very much for being here. We'll see you next time.
Stay sensible.
There's nothing left to do but cue the corgi.
You're despicable.
Hugh Jars says, I love Hugh Jars and I cannot lie.